Medhurst. 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to the Convo Couch, everyone. Pasta Jardula here.
And I'm Fiorella.
And Jonny Tsunami's on the ones and twos.
Yeah.
All right. Welcome, everybody. Great show today. Thank you. Happy Monday. We want to say thank you to Jackie Pagao. It's Monday. I know, right? Like I was up
at 6 a.m. doing a press TV thing.
Well, I had to get up at 10:15 to do a show with the Radical Independent on Rokfin. Check him out, ladies and gentlemen. Dave Spurrier. Awesome dude.
Check out Press TV, which of course has been censored by Facebook, Twitter.
The United States government took the website down.
Marwa Osman is amazing. She's really great on geopolitics of West Asia. Check her out. She's got her show. Of course, our friend Richard Medhurst is on there as well. Just check all those people out. They're really great.
Okay, so listen. Jackie Pagao, she walked right into the door. Where's Trey? Where the hell you at, Trey? Get your ass here. He's late at work. Can't watch live, but we'll catch up on the replay. Thanks for always standing up and doing the right thing. Y'all have been so unfairly attacked lately. Stay strong. You all are appreciated. Heart, heart. Love you, Jackie Pagao. 21 people. Facts on the Ground is here too as well. There's
Yo, Misty!
60 people on the YouTubes. Guys, mad censorship is here.
Let Putin know that we're being
everywhere.
censored, that we need interference from our Russian comrades.
Yes. So like, share, subscribe, hit the button, get it out there. Let everybody know we're going live. We have a great show for you today. There's a lot of things we have to talk about, a lot of things we have to catch up on. Yeah. Because it's really not just the individual act that we are kind of talking about.
No, it's a bigger picture.
It is the bigger picture. Johnny pointed this out yesterday and talked about this. It's no longer, I don't think, left versus right. I don't think it's been that way for a while. I think it's always been oligarchs versus the rest of us. But you have also been saying this is about fighting against authoritarianism.
Right.
And everybody else.
Right. And it's not, look, I think in order to get any sort of movement going, any movement that's going to take on the oligarchy, you have to be post-partisan. For me, I'm obviously on the left, as is Pasta, as is Johnny. We're obviously on the left in terms of, you know, the two-dimensional side of looking at things. But that becomes less important when you're facing an authoritarian takeover by these technocratic oligarchs. And this morning I got to talk about, the Pegasus Project and NSO and TOCA. And we're not going to talk about it today because we'll do a deep dive on that. But that is scary. And the fact that these tech companies and this technology can really access all of our information, and the government, of course, isn't talking about it. Mainstream media isn't talking about it. They're only talking about what they're allowed to talk about. They're not talking about the worst things.
Hold on one second. Johnny, can you check the audio? I'm seeing people on the stream saying it's coming through the internal. We'll give it 2 seconds, guys.
Whew. Man, so,
okay, Josh Davis, bro. You want to have a conversation later on? I'm more than welcome to, brother. More than welcome to.
Hello?
Testing.
You got it?
How we doing, guys? Let us know. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Can you hear us through the microphone?
Can you hear us?
Looks like it's working now.
Okay. All right. So back on to what I was saying. So yeah, we can't fight about our ideology right now if we don't have like a platform, if we don't have anything, like if we don't have control of our freedom of speech, if we don't have control of the things we say, if we're going to be fighting each other over stupid things and pretty much doing the work for the state agencies and the people in power, the predator class who wants us to fight each other. And that's what we've been seeing is the greater picture of this whole like canceling anybody or putting, you know, vaccinated people on one side and unvaccinated people in the other. It's creating a two-tiered society. And the way people go against you if you say anything about the vaccine, not even if you're vaccinated and you criticize the vaccine, or if you're unvaccinated, not because you're anti-vaxxer, but because you just don't trust this particular experimental vaccine because it's an experimental vaccine. And so, you know, all these things that are happening, like, that is the bigger picture as to why, you know, we're talking about this. It's not because we care about self-promotion. It's not because we care to make this about us. It's because if a movement like Medicare for All is going to gain ground, as the national organizers intended it, right? We spoke to a national organizer who's a friend of ours now last night for a few hours, and they were just as upset as we were, if not more. Yeah. Because if you're trying to build a movement, it's got to be a working class solidarity movement across the aisle. Period. End of story. But we'll work with anybody who wants healthcare for all. That's how you build a general strike. You're not going to build a general strike by asking, who did you vote for in the general? Or who did you vote for in the primary? And all of this. It's not how it works. Yeah.
Well, somebody said, like, when you come into the doctor, they're going to be like, oh, hi, I have your Medicare for All, but who did you vote for?
Yeah.
I got to know just before I give it to you and stuff like that. And the bigger picture is this, and we're talking about this right now. It's the fact that a lot of people and a lot of groups can't get away from their own ideology. Right. And they can't really accept what other people, you know, believe in. And yet they try to shame them, cancel culture them. And it was more than just us in this particular march. I mean, it was multiple people, what we found out, multiple across the board of trying to influence the march in your ideology, trying to make it about what you believe rather than what it started off to be, which was about a nonpartisan building coalitions across the board. You talked about it. This could be a great step to a general strike if, in fact, we allow people from across the board come and speak, because everybody, at the end of the day, wants Medicare for all. We might disagree on what type of Medicare for all we might want, what bill. That's why no bills should have been brought into this thing whatsoever. Right. It was very dumb to do that, even though you might be fighting for something that's worthy of fighting for. That wasn't about this. This was about us uniting as people, we the plebs, against the fucking oligarchs to get something that we deserve, that every nation has. Every industrialized nation has across the board. And it's just a shame the way this thing went down.
And really. And we'll talk about it. But, you know, I've always supported universal health care, and Medicare for All is Bernie's plan. I think there are other plans that we can look at, too, that are still universal health care. Yeah. You have nationalized health care in the UK. You have an Australian healthcare system. You have a Canadian healthcare system. You have a system in Denmark. And you have all these types of systems. Cuba. Like, you have the global south that has healthcare for all. We don't have any of that. So I don't understand why it has to be exactly what Bernie said when Bernie isn't even out there fighting for this at all. He didn't even acknowledge it. So again, like, when I say things like, I don't want the expansion, I don't trust our government that literally goes around toppling governments all over the world, is enforcing people to behave a certain way, is censoring us, is doing all of these fascist authoritarian things to implement a fair healthcare system. Our government that's in bed with corporations, technocratic oligarchs, and big pharma, I don't trust them. That doesn't mean that I don't want Medicare for all. That just means I think that's the first step, and we're going to have to be extremely behind, because we don't have direct democracy in our government. We have representative democracy, and we know we don't have that, right? Yeah. So just to get started really quickly, fam, this is just a picture of the LA rally. It was beautiful. I wanted to congratulate all of the organizers who worked really hard in spite of all the attacks they got. I mean, across the board, they didn't even get that many attacks from right-wingers. They got attacks from Democrats. They got attacks from progressives who didn't like the speakers they chose, so they decided to trash and do everything they can to thwart this march. And I have to give accolades to the people like Sharif, Joy Marie, Elizabeth Meyer, all of these people that were working really hard. Ricky Rance, all of these people.
Love you, Ricky. Call me right away.
Sabby Sabs and their crew in Boston got interviewed by local news there. They wrote an article on it. I thought that was awesome. And, you know, and a lot of these idiots were trying to say, oh, these marches are small. Look at how small they are. Well, guess what, guys? They wouldn't be small if you guys joined them, but you're too busy about caring about personalities than actually doing this. And this is the only thing that's going to get us anything at this point. So I want to first of all congratulate them for doing this. In spite of everything that happened, it was a great first step. I think it will grow if done like a way that's inclusive and you know,
and
getting
LA
rid of,
was the only place where it was kind of like this, right? Because everywhere else,
we don't know. We haven't
national.
talked to
From what I've
everybody.
seen in DC and everything, looked pretty amazing. DC was looking good.
LA was the only place that had these stipulations that were thrust upon us at the very last minute. And of course, it's LA. You have a lot of virtue signaling, like neo-progressive, like white knighting here, like where it's like, oh my God, like you can't just do an event like that's inclusive. You have to throw in your freaking beliefs and your ideology in it. And so that's one of the things that I think, you know, we know because we have been in that community for years. We have had activists stay with us. We have actually funded things. We have done like so many things with people. I'm not trying to throw it in their face, but like we fucking have stood by a lot of these people, and it's disgusting to instead be for them to be backing the smears that were created by establishment Democratic operative types.
Or just haters.
Instead of having our back. Because we have definitely had people's backs. We have people slept on our couches. We have done all of this
These
without...
are the people we started with in this fucking whole thing.
Without asking for anything in return, to be honest.
And really, to tell you the truth, fam, the reason why this show is so important is because it was a missed opportunity right now. And if you can't work with us, if you're if you're a progressive Democrat on the left, and you can't work with us, this independent-minded thinking people we are, you're never going to work with the right. And that tells me you don't want to work with the right.
Well, they don't want to.
And that's the problem.
Or
an
independent, or a libertarian. They don't want to work with any of them. You don't want to work with
anybody who has a different thought process than you, and that is really important to point out, because what happened in LA today was a missed opportunity. And there's some people right now who just don't understand it, and it's a shame fighting with them and arguing with them, but they need to understand what's going on. And if you can't work with us, how are you going to work with anybody? How are you going to work with anybody? You know what I'm saying? So if you think that you're just going to be able to stay in your own bubble and you're going to be able to get people to change their minds and get them to come to your side, you're wrong. There has to be some form of compromisation. This march started off as a non-partisan march where we were all getting together, uniting on the same goal, same common goal, without bringing in our personal ideology about anything else to the table. But, fam, I got to give it, and I got to tip my hat to the Predator class, because this move with the coronavirus, this COVID, is just, this was their checkmate move, man, because they really knew how to split people in half. Yeah.
At least in America. Because in other countries, not just France,
like France.
And even in Israel, they're fighting against the oppression. In the UK, they're fighting against vaccine passports. They're fighting against authoritarian crackdowns. But here,
yes,
we have people
supporting
that and like kicking people out for not taking it. So, did you want to start, Johnny? Okay.
Right, so I'm kind of writing an article, so I just want to say congrats to all the national organizers for organizing a nationwide event that most mainstream media outlets ignored.
Yep.
And the march in LA had a great showing of supporters for Medicare for All and some amazing speakers. However, the newest divide that the oligarchy and the predator class have bestowed upon us is coming into fruition right in our faces.
Yes, it is.
The March for Medicare for All had been planned since January, and we'd been in contact with organizers for at least that long, since January 4th and 5th Forced to Vote rally. The Twitter account had been announcing speakers nationwide for a couple of months now, and we had been in contact with national organizers like Ricky Rance, and had been approved to be speakers in the LA event weeks before the official announcement. When the Twitter account announces 2 days prior to the event on July 22nd, almost immediately the liberal Democrats and the G-offs were going off, and so that's basically the intro of that.
Yeah.
Right, and you guys, you can show the picture, Johnny, because I basically start off with that, right? Because as soon as our pictures were announced, the whole thing was, oh, these are anti-vaxxers. Particularly, Pasta has been very vocal about the fact that he hasn't been vaccinated. And of course, that caused them to go after us. There's a G-Hive. Oh, they've jumped the shark. They've announced 2 speakers that promote anti-vax and stop the steal propaganda.
Ooh.
This is important because later on this comes back. And so then, you know, this motherfucker who doesn't even live here, he's Canadian, and he's in the algorithm. I swear that they help people who all this guy, if you go to his videos on YouTube right now, all he talks is about Trump. Even though Trump hasn't been president of America for months now, all he does is talk about Trump. And he's shutting down a healthcare for all event when he lives in Canada and has healthcare. Like, go fuck yourself. Are you serious? Okay. And he says anti-vax views shouldn't be tolerated at a Medicare for all event. So that was the start. There was so much more. Obviously, we're not going to put all of it. There was so much more just going after us, taking our footage from January 6th and saying, ooh, she's a Stop the Steal girl, when I went to cover it as a fucking journalist, and we were asking people questions, and we were filming what happened, educating people about elections, kind of trying to get to the bottom of what was happening. And we happened to be there, and our footage got stolen and used in an indictment and it was in the Washington Post. All these people stole our shit. So we were covering it as journalists. We weren't there like chanting Stop the Steal. Yeah. That's not what we were doing.
Because we're election integrity activists. We're not Stop the Steal. We were fighting for it. And in fact, some of the people we had arguments with this thing, we were fighting for their elections locally in California. Right. So we're not Stop the Steal people. We're election integrity activists. We believe in fair elections across the board. Sorry, fam.
Right. And so instead of speaking to us directly, though, longtime activists we've known began looking at these smears of us being anti this particular vaccine or anti this experimental vaccine and started getting concerned. They held an emergency meeting without several of the main organizers. One of the organizers was at a camping trip, and then they decided that they wanted new protocols. Okay, so the LA County apparently asked people to take more precautions because of the Delta variant. But again, this was up to the jurisdiction of whatever event person or whatever business. I have gone to I've gone to the gym, I've gone to restaurants. It's pretty much the same as it was before they even put this protocol because it's not enforced by the police. And there's not really a huge change because people, the economy in Los Angeles runs on restaurants and runs on bars and on people being outside, and people are sick and tired of having this whole idea that they have to lock down with all the new information coming in about Fauci, etc. So what happened is that organizer Betty Dumas began calling pasta while I was in Florida and having dinner with my family and friends to ask you if you were vaccinated. So you can talk about that because I don't really know what happened.
Well, I said no, you know what I'm saying? And she asked, is Fiorella vaccinated? I said, you'll have to talk to Fiorella about that.
Right.
You know, and really, to tell you the truth, I want to stop right here because this is mind-blowing to me that a lot of progressive Democrats or left progressives or whatever you want to call them just think it's so okay to ask people if they've been vaccinated or not. Like, this is not any of your business. This is between us and our doctor. I don't give a shit what mainstream media is telling you.
Does your husband take Viagra? Do you take, I don't know, hormones for your... I don't ask you that. Like, it's not this...
Yeah. Once again, this is supposed to be a nonpartisan march. Yeah. But, they're scared shitless. Yeah. And therefore, that's what they asked. Right. So then it came a situation where it's like, well, are you an anti-vaxxer? I said, no. I'm anti this vaccine. You're anti this vaccine? I'm like, yeah. And I said, well, why are you making this political? She goes, well, it's not political. I believe in science. That's the thing they always say. I believe in science. No, you don't believe in science. You believe in big pharma. You believe in the military-industrial complex. You believe in lying politicians and the mainstream media. Right. Because this is an experimental vaccine that was pushed forth with experimental measures because they suppressed information about alternative medicines, period. Yep. Now, whether you want to take it or not, that's your choice, and I have no problem with that. If you feel that you're just under so much pressure, you want your freedom, you want to take it, go ahead. But respect the decisions of the people who don't want to take it, who do want to look for alternative medicines. There shouldn't be anything wrong with that, and this shouldn't even come into play for a rally outside.
No,
whatsoever.
It was a rally outside. You could easily frame it, and this is what we were told by another organizer. It could easily be framed, hey, the Delta variant is spiking, so if you're vaxxed, you don't have to wear a mask. If you're not vaxxed, wear a mask. That's it. And we're going to do the honor system. And that's it. That's all you had to do. That's all everybody else did. But this person found out about pasta and wanted to put this whole other political thing on it. And then, of course, she called me, and then I'm not going to answer about pasta. But then she calmly began it started calmly, but then she began harassing me on the phone, asked me if I was vaccinated, which is, again, none of her business. I'm not going to tell you. It's none of your business unless I want to tell you. And I said I was, and I was on my way back to LA. I got to LA a day before the march. And so I said, I hope this isn't an issue with the fact that Craig isn't vaccinated yet, because I already talked to Pasta. That's his prerogative. This is his choice. I respect it, as we all should. And it is about that, and it is his prerogative. However, I have other people to consider. Are you vaxxed?
See, look at that. It's like just stepping over the shit, not even acknowledging that, and then doubling down and saying, well, are you vaxxed? Who the fuck are you? Like, what is this, Nazi friggin' Germany over here and shit? I mean, ridiculous. Ridiculous that people can just go and ask somebody about that. Whatever happened to the progressives, my body, my choice? What happened to that?
It doesn't apply.
It doesn't apply to that because ideology.
The greater good. Even though the information is pointing out to so many issues with this. So we're not going to get into that, but there's so many issues with this experimental vaccine. So she said, I cannot put people in jeopardy. That might not be your belief, but it is what most people believe. The nurses who I am taking advisement from, I moved through this process to make sure we secure health care for everyone. Craig did not tell me he has COVID, and I think this would have been something he might have shared with me when I spoke to him. He didn't have COVID. He had it months ago. We all did. So we have the antibodies.
Well, no. Chris Cuomo says they go away in 2.5 months, fam. Sorry.
Okay, well, Chris Cuomo is somebody you trust, right?
No, Don Lemon said it too.
Oh, Don Lemon. Okay, great.
Rachel Maddow.
Oh, they're the most trusted sources we have.
Let's
scientists
listen to
too.
them. Yeah.
Okay, so she said we are using a stake bed for a staging area. I said he can wear a mask then, because I didn't know you didn't even want to do that. I didn't know.
Yeah.
So I said so that people can be heard, and I said he doesn't have to be excluded. She said we have equipment that may be shared. Other organizers were telling me, hey, in Milwaukee, what we're doing is we're wiping the mic after every speaker. It's no big deal. Like, why couldn't they do that? No, it had to be this way. And I let her know it was unfair. And then again, it's always like, you're the selfish one, Fiorella. You're the bad person.
Listen to this shit.
If you choose to put 3.9 million Californians at risk to center yourself and millions of Americans across the country when we can make a real difference here, then choose yourself. This is about Medicare for all, not the Convo Couch, not you and not Craig. Craig and I had a respectful conversation. I see the dynamic here unfolding. I have Maria Estrada to think of. Even vaccinated is vulnerable. I have Jimmy Dore to consider. I have others to consider. Okay, so now she's throwing other people that weren't even a part of this whole discussion. And
yeah.
I have never been asked
to imply her fucking values, once and again, her ideologies. I can argue against all the fucking ideologies. And why would you trust the same people who lied to us this whole time to give us the remedy? It makes no fucking sense, right? Whatsoever. And the fact that they keep using these bullshit fucking lines, taking the mainstream media narrative and Big Pharma narrative, who they were supposed to be fighting against for years, fam, and then running with it, is just beyond gullible. It's stupid.
So then she sent this without the consent of anybody else. And she messaged us this, and it was a link to this email. We are less than 24 hours away from the big day. It'll be a historic grassroots activism. We are honored to have you have agreed to speak and participate. In the last 24 hours, we have had to make some adjustments. This is Friday. This is literally less than 24 hours before the event. This should not affect your speaking time, but we have changed the end location just a few blocks north in Hollywood. No longer were they going to end at the park, which is fine. I had no problem with that. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, the impulse is not under the best circumstances. Late yesterday, the LA County Public Health Department COVID alert was made, citing an increase in COVID cases, many of which are in the Hollywood area. Please see COVID-19 transmission rapidly rising, blah, 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 Delta variant. And so they put that link for the public health. And then our professional logistics team was able to make last minute changes to accommodate for the health and safety of the speakers, performers, and attendees. Due to the increase of COVID cases, we are now implementing additional safety protocols under the advice of trusted health professionals. We hope that you are able and willing to comply with these protocols to minimize any possible exposure to the virus. We understand these protocols may cause additional work on your part. However, we are confident that we will all meet the moment with thoughtfulness for not only our own personal safety, but the safety of others.
There it goes.
We request that everyone speaking disclose whether they have received their full course of COVID vaccinations at least 14 days ago. If for some reason you have not been vaccinated, we ask that you provide proof of a negative COVID test. In order to be in compliance with the safety protocol, we ask that you answer and reply to this email advising us to whether you have been fully vaccinated at least 14 days ago or provide us with proof of the negative COVID test. Please respond by 7 p.m. tonight. So that was that. And she sent us this email and said, please read and return your response. Your speaking engagement is contingent on response. And I said, you know very well that people can't get a test right now on time for the march, right? And then she said, 2-hour rapid CVS, people in my business do it all the time. I had to take many tests for traveling to Peru. I had to take one to get there. I had to take one to get back. Guess what? Which one they wanted? They wanted the PCR test, guys. The PCR test has been found to not even be accurate. And this is what they wanted. So I know how long it takes. I went to CVS. It took 24 to 48 hours for me to get a result back. If you want a rapid test, it's almost $200 or more to take a rapid test. It's like $80 to $200 to get one. So by the way, no. And you want me to spend $200 now because all of a sudden this all started with pasta. Of course, then they had to expand it to everybody else. And she said, this is not the protocol that the team has put in place. We cannot make exceptions. I said, you're doing this to stop people from speaking. Because again, this wasn't early Friday. This was like in the afternoon Friday. There was no way. There was no way.
And this is local people going rogue, going against what the national organizers said to do. And, they wanted me removed from the stage, in my personal opinion, because of my beliefs and stuff. And because it wasn't just about us in this situation and what we're going to go on and talk about. It was other people who they were trying to implement in there. And they wanted to implement their own mentality of that AB 1400 and all this other shit that we'll get into and stuff like that. But we need to look at the bigger picture here, guys. That's all I'm trying to say. So.
Okay. And other organizers, of course, were going to bat for us and told us Betty was acting rogue. She wasn't in charge at all, that she went behind the backs of everyone, including her teammates, that this was not approved, but she sent it anyway. And this is from an organizer. This is a source. I'm not going to reveal my sources here because I do not want them to get in trouble. I'm sorry. People are horrible. And F. Betty, we're all done with her. What can we do? She's in charge according to her. She's not. There are multiple lead organizers. So the things she was telling us were false. Then I spoke to another organizer to say, hey, we're on a call with another speaker because the other speaker wasn't vaxxed, and they were like, what are we going to do? We can't speak if we're not, because they started with pasta, but then they had to expand it to everybody because now it's a thing that they're saying, oh, it's because of the Delta variant. We really want you and pasta to speak. So then I spoke to this other organizer, and then I spoke to somebody else, and they said she doesn't have the power over everyone. She also contacted Jimmy Dore's producer behind everyone's back, trying to tell him what to say. They wanted them to speak on AB 1400. It's a bill, healthcare for all bill in California. Who's governor right now? Gavin Newsom. You think Gavin Newsom's going to give you healthcare? Okay, beside the point. Even if you believe in that, you want to speak on it, fine. Stop telling people what to fucking say. Yeah. We're not going to be told what to say and what not to say. I'm sorry. Right now this is Medicare for all. It's on a federal level. It's on the level of direct action, moving the politicians, not begging politicians for scraps. That's not what this was about. And other organizers echoed that. So, they said everyone's pissed at her. And like I said, I told her it was impossible. I told her she should pay for it, right? I said, because, well, if you want to pay for this rapid test, it's like at least, it was like 80 to 200. And there was one at the airport. I think I remember it was about 200. And I said, you can pay for it. And then she said, please stop harassing me. And I'm like, you're the one that was harassing us, right? And so at that point you were upset because they started pulling up your parlor. They started pulling up how we were there on January 6th. They started calling you this right-winger, anti-vaxxer. And so, it's to me, our views were the ones that got us here, right? And then this is what happened.
Yeah, I just said, unfortunately, I will no longer be speaking at the Medicare for All March. The local organizers, after asking me if I was vaccinated, demanded I wear a mask and take a COVID test. I refused. I will not be told when and what to do with my body. I support Medicare for all, not medical tyranny. And I know a lot of people came at me for saying, it's medical tyranny that you have to take a test and wear a mask. No, the whole picture is that they're bullying people into taking this vaccine. They're telling them you can't speak here unless you are part of our tribe and you get your vaccine. You know what I'm saying? And it's all the people that they one time supposedly never trusted. Now they're going to believe them. It should be your body, your choice. That's it. And what's going on is disgusting. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, and I was just going to say, I think if they would have said, hey, we need to wear a mask if in case, like, once you're around the speakers, but then you can take it off when you're speaking. If they would have approached it a different way, I think you would have been different.
Yeah.
You would have been open to it. But
they
it was
went
the
right
way
for the vaccination
they
talk.
went right there for
right for the vaccination
Are you
talk.
vaxxed? Are you not vaccinated? That's what was the problem, not the mask thing. Definitely, I have no problem wearing a mask, by the way. I don't care. I'm not going to die on that hill. I just don't. I won't. I'll tell you that right now. But I just, for me, it was the way it was done, right? It was the way it was done. I think it was just...
Because there was other people then, too, of course, asking if you got vaxxed.
Right, exactly.
Calling me and say, is Fee vaxxed?
Yeah. So I said, this isn't okay. And she said, take some time to reflect and think about the bigger picture, how you can make a difference.
Who the hell is she?
This time, it might just be that you sacrifice promotion for the show. So now it's about promotion for the show, not about like how the fact that we're anti-censorship people. Duh, we're going to be against this. We're consistent in our beliefs. Like it doesn't change because it's COVID and it's a controversial topic and we're not going to talk about it. No, we're fucking consistent in everything we do. And so then Craig was harassed by Lauren Steiner, who's all the way in fucking North Carolina. And she was like, she's been bashing the march simultaneously, talking about it, but also bashing it and saying, we need to get rid of these people because they're problematic. And it's good that Nina Turner doesn't show because it will hurt her image to associate herself with these people who embrace Nazis. And that's all false. The organizers never embraced the Nazi. That was a fucking operative who posted that picture and then did this to get people to cancel the march. And she said, I found myself in the position of defending you and Fee to the North Carolina Medicare for All Coalition, who have seen your tweets about Medicare for All, vaccinations, and January 6th. Here we go again. It's our fucking beliefs and our fucking, even coverage of things.
This
the way
is
we
DePaul, you got a lot
this.
of balls, though, right after.
Can you tell me one thing? Has Fee been fully vaxxed?
What the hell is wrong with people out there? Really,
she asked you this, not me.
But still, why would people even fucking think they have the nerve?
You don't have
the
it's
nerve
not your right
to ask this shit.
I don't have to tell you
guys
shit.
are puppets
You're not
of
my
the
friend.
predator class, man. You guys are chumps.
And so after all of this, they had another meeting after Pasta was forced out, essentially. Let him know that we're holding an emergency meeting regarding testing. Please give us an hour. No, this isn't Betty. This is an organizer for Medicare for All, one of the LA organizers. And they're addressing this because a lot of people couldn't get the test, right? And so after this debacle, I said I supported Pasta and nothing else was said until the next day. And I was told to disregard what Betty had asked once again. And again, she sent this email to speakers without approval of the LA team. Once again, she did this on her own.
When do we see this before, fam? When I have these little private meetings when nobody's around?
Yeah, the AOC event.
They make decisions and then they do. I mean, we've seen this shit. This is why this particular group really failed. This particular group, because all the people that were involved with this, not just Betty, the people that were involved, they failed, and they failed miserably. This was your chance to start building with bridges with people who think differently than you. And you still got stuck in your own ideology, and you forced it upon people, and you were sneaky about it. You went around national. You didn't give a shit what they had to say.
They attacked their own. There are other organizers that were trying to say, no, don't do this. They attacked their own. I know at least 2 people who quit helping the LA march because they were just disgusted by what was happening. And so it's not just us. That's what I'm saying. So there was a great organizer, Sharif. He even apologized to Pasta after this whole thing went down. And for me personally, in the march, they apologized too in this Twitter thread, like, oh, you can speak somewhere else. I'm like, I would, but here's the thing. Yo, Pasta, I wish I could turn this around right now. It might be too late for that. I probably shouldn't say this publicly, but I agree with you 100%. Fiorella brought this to my attention today. Would you want to speak at another location? So this is like, we're not trashing Medicare for All march here.
Also, really important here, Sharif and Ricky Rance are the 2 that initiated this whole thing. And then more and more organizers started coming. And
inspired by what, Johnny?
Inspired by Force to Vote rally, which we went and covered and spoke at and nearly got arrested by Capitol Police at. And that Jackson Hinkle organized, along with the Action for Assange.
Yeah, and by the way, the vast majority of the people here were trash-talking Jimmy Dore, were trash-talking Force to Vote, because it was focusing on the squad. And a lot of these people that were against us, guess what? They love the squad. They can't have enough of AOC and praising her and praising the squad. And they didn't like Force to Vote. You even said to one organizer, I'm not even going to mention force of vote. I would never say that to anybody. That props to you. You're so nice, but I would never fucking say that. That was the first thing that came out of my mouth.
Because I was telling them, I was like, I'm not gonna bring
you got
my own personal
no
politics in this.
anti-masking.
No anti-masking talk. I said I'm not going to do that. I'm not here to push my own ideology on there.
No,
I'm
but
here to
no,
be
yeah.
part of the coalition of building Medicare for all with people on different sides of the aisle and different ideologies, because this is about something we all want together.
Yeah.
This is us versus big pharma, right? So I'm not going to mention force to vote. I'm not going to mention my ideology about masks. I'm not going to mention the COVID. I'm not going to mention that it came out of a lab. None of that shit. I'm going to talk about introducing people as we wanting Medicare for all for everybody who's out there suffering, who needs it desperately. That's all I'm going to do. I'm going to stay there, stay the course, and do it right. So
exactly. So, and that's the thing. The fact that he was asked no anti-mask talk. We have never even like said anything like that.
Never.
Or I would never bring up vaccinations or any of that stuff on this thing. I wouldn't, because for me it's like I don't want to impose my beliefs on you. None of that stuff. Like, it's about Medicare for all. If you want to bring in Misty, we can now. Yeah, go ahead and bring her in.
Mindy Moneybags is here.
So I just wanted to say, the next day I didn't get any instructions. Everybody else was sent instructions. So I had to call my friend, the one that was supposed to be in charge, but she got like Betty started reaching out to people that she wasn't supposed to reach out to, and so I didn't even know where I was supposed to be exactly. Chid Batar also wasn't told where he was supposed to be. Tara Reid, this person didn't want Tara Reid to speak, didn't want Shahid to speak, didn't want us to speak. They wanted to torpedo us. This is what we learned last night by speaking to one of our organizer friends, national organizers. They wanted to get rid of all of us. They didn't want to put us on there.
Betty wanted to get rid of us.
Yes,
yeah.
Betty in particular, but she was supported by 2 other people that we thought were our friends, and they of course went along with her.
Yeah.
And so I get there and nobody's wearing a mask. I found out that 2 of the speakers weren't even vaxxed.
They didn't have to use the test either.
They didn't bring a test. No, everybody was like, what the hell is happening with pasta? Like,
yeah.
Jackson's like, what happened with pasta? What's going on with that? And like, I was like, dude, I don't know what the hell, like, and then we were talking and, all these things. And like, I get to the stage and she's like asking me to put on my mask. And I'm like, what? Like, she doesn't ask anybody else. Because I had a mask. I brought a mask because I don't have a problem, like I said. But I didn't see anybody else doing it, except like 1 or 2 people. And then I was like, okay, so I'll just bring it down. And why did she single me out? Does she know the vaccination status of every person there? Clearly not. Right? And then she changed the order of the speakers, by the way. I was supposed to go second to last. She put me like third. And there was no time limit given, none at all. And then all of a sudden, she was like, oh, the police are coming. You all have to less time, but she didn't specify a time. And so
the police are coming. The police were standing right off to the side watching shit. Stop.
Well, they had a permit. So I know that they had a permit. In fact, we learned last night that they had wasted money for hours of audio equipment that they didn't get to use, because it seems like Betty had wanted to rush speakers she didn't like to get to AB 1400 with politicians. And all the politicians that spoke earlier were some of the most corrupt, and we can go into that later, but they were some of the most corrupt politicians that have no place in this fucking march. They're not going to give you Medicare for all. They're anti-Medicare for all. And you had them speak. And because she wanted to get all those AB 1400 people and turn this into a fucking lukewarm, like, push for AB 1400, she cut everybody else's time. And she had obviously wanted to get me off. She was not happy I was there. And then Maria spoke the longest. And Johnny, you can go over the time in a minute, but I just wanted to bring Misty on and yeah.
It's Misty, or is it Mindy Moneybags is here with us, lady?
It's Putin's puppet.
Putin's puppet. Mindy Moneybags, how you doing over there?
I'm doing
Sarcasm,
very well, fam.
Stardust.
It's good to see you.
You got some volume?
Do I have some volume? Oh,
no,
hold on.
I can't hear you.
Hold on.
And I know you're loud.
I like your hair.
Yeah. Right. While you fix the audio, Mindy. I'm Misty.
Can you hear me now?
It's Mindy
Hello,
Moneybags.
hello.
All right, so Johnny, what do you got over here?
Still don't hear you, Misty. We'll let you know when we hear you.
Yeah, I still don't hear you. Is it? It's not you, right?
Oh, it could be me.
Oh, wait, hold on. It could be you. It's not you, it's me. There we go.
Is it me? Can you hear me now?
Turns off when there's no.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
That's a bad thing. All right, check it.
Can you hear me? Hello? Anybody?
No.
Bueller? No?
Make sure that speaker's on.
Hello?
Not coming out of internal.
Okay,
Hello?
well, Misty can be heard
Hey.
on the stream,
Oh,
can hear me?
on the stream.
but cannot be heard through headphones.
You can be heard on the stream.
Oh, okay.
The stream hears you.
Hi, stream people. Party people.
I don't know what's happening.
I don't know. I don't know what to do.
Take over the show. There you go. Speak
If
to
you
the
don't know
kids.
that Misty Winston emceed the Medicare for All March in OH,
Io.
then now you know. You know what I'm saying? That's what's going on. I heard you guys had an amazing rally yesterday. And
Yes, we did.
Yeah, I mean, that's awesome that you emceed it. Awesome. I saw some of the great pictures. Looked like you had a great turnout. You know what I'm saying? And
did.
yeah, why don't you? Do you want to wait for her to tell us about it, or should we? What should we do?
Give us a second.
Do you want me to get out and get back in? I don't know if Johnny can hear me.
Audio issues today.
Yeah.
They're zapping us from the inside. Deep state.
Hello? 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 Hello?
You want to just go with the internal speakers and we can hear them there?
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yay!
Hey!
Hey!
Hi, fams.
Fam.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Yes, it was important for us to bring you on today because we collaborate a lot, we talk a lot, we have a lot of the same ideology. We understand what it's like to talk to people who think differently than us, and what happened to us is just a micro of the macro. What's going on across the country. I mean, we're not doing this here because we have a personal beef that we want to air out. We just see it as the bigger picture of people pushing their ideology, especially the progressive Democrats or the leftist progressives that really think it's okay to push their authoritarianism ways against other people who might think differently than us. And that is really, really bad because I think we're all of the notion that it's the oligarchs and us. So
they're sabotaging their own movement. I mean, this is ridiculous. You can't isolate yourself into your little safe space and, so you can feel, smugly superior to everybody else. You're not going to get anything done that way. And what happened to you guys was so blatantly obvious. I mean, the fact that they were making up new rules the day before the march because you guys were invited, and then the way that they shut Fee's mic off.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys know I was pissed because as soon as she said the word Assange, all of a sudden it's you're out of time, bitch. And I'm like, what is going on here?
Yeah.
So yeah, the things that happened to you guys was really ridiculous, and it's really unfortunate that one organizer on a power trip can ruin an event for everybody. So that's
well, she had help too as well because she had people in her own corner, her own team sports over here that really went along with it because they feel that their ideology is the right one, so therefore they get to push it on you. And that's the problem right now. It's this cloak of virtueness, right? I'm right, you're
Cloak of
wrong.
virtuosity, yeah.
Virtuosity, thank you. Is virtuousness is not a word? See, I don't know. Stuff.
Virtuous
so.
is a word, but virtueness, I'm not sure.
No, virtuosity.
It's my cloak of virtuosity. I made it up and I can't even get it right. But it's like the thought process that they think, and like I said, hats off, not hats off, but you got to look at the Predator class. You got to look at the CIA, all these agencies, whoever's pulling the levers. This move that they made with coronavirus is a checkmate move. It has really turned people against each other, and it is really sad that the same people that they were fighting against, they're now taking their marching orders from mainstream media, big pharma, and yes, the whole Assange thing. You made an amazing tweet. I should have put it in the folder. I did not. But you were saying something about, what were you saying about Assange when it comes to securing freedom of speech and free press?
Listen, the Assange thing impacts literally every other fight that we face. And I mentioned this. I was very fortunate, and the organizer for our event was Chris, and he was amazing. And I was encouraged heavily to speak about Assange. I was encouraged heavily to call the squad out. I was given, I had no restrictions whatsoever on what I was allowed to say, what I was allowed to talk about. They encouraged me, just do whatever you want. And Sharif is amazing. You guys spoke about him earlier. He's the one that brought me on board. And I said, you do realize that you're going to get pushback for me being involved in this. And he was like, I don't care. And I mean, he was on board. He knew what he was getting when he invited me to come. But Assange impacts literally everything else. Right now, the fact that, free speech and free press is under such direct threat. And along with that goes our right to protest.
Yeah.
The fact that, Julian Assange is still being held in Belmarsh and all of these things, that impacts our ability to fight for Medicare for all. It impacts our ability to fight for education, for the environment, for every other thing that we're facing. And so bringing it up in the context that Fee did, which is exactly what she was saying, you know, these people all censor us, they don't talk about Assange, and that was the exact right way to bring it up. It was the exact perfect way to make that point, because that is exactly what this is. It's this constant and direct threat against our First Amendment. And, you know, we can't fight for things effectively if we don't have press freedom. You're not going to be able to get Medicare for all if you can't get information out and, you know, obtain information, correct information. And they want complete narrative control. And that's what we're fighting against. And that's, you know, the point I've been making about Julian Assange for 2 years, you know, and all of the time I've been doing this activism as heavily as I have. That's what that is. That's what this threat is. And so, you know, it's really unfortunate that, you know, people don't see that.
Right, we got attacked just for, like, it wasn't even like, oh, you got censored. It was like, good, because why are you talking about Julian Assange? And I'll show you how that came into play later, guys. But like what does that have to do with Medicare for all? It has everything to do with Medicare for all.
Everything.
Yes. How do you not see that? I mean, if we don't, we're the only ones, independent media are the only ones covering Medicare for all marches. We're in front of the CNN building. And in fact, we were told to do this whole thing. There's a reason why independent media, all of us, were in front of the CNN building, because we were there for actions for Assange. We were there for fuck censorship. We were protesting the censorship of the things that we talk about. We talk about so many progressive things, and the mainstream media isn't talking about Medicare for all. So that was the whole point. Like, hey, if they're not going to be honest and talk about it, we're over here covering it. We're talking about it. This is why journalists like Julian Assange are important, because if we don't have the ability to speak about the things that are important to us and draw attention to that, we're never gonna get it. And so the fact that people can't comprehend that connection, to me, is a huge issue. Mm-hmm. And because they allow
the most frustrating thing that I deal with. It seriously is the most frustrating thing that I deal with, because to me it's so blatantly obvious that what's happening is that the predator class, the owner class, whatever you want to call them, the oligarchy, whatever nickname you have for them, they want complete narrative control. They don't want you to be able to rebut the things that they're putting out. They want to be able to fill you with propaganda, and you don't have any ability to challenge it whatsoever. That's what they're seeking here. That's why they're doing all of the demonetization and all of the deplatforming and all of this stuff. We have, 5 or 6 companies that control 90% of our media. They want that to be 100%. And that is, I hate to use the word fascism, because it gets thrown around a lot, but that is fascism.
Yep.
That is fascism. When they seek to control every means of information, they are seeking global control over information and journalism right now. Right now, that's happening. We have a whistleblower who is going to be tomorrow prosecuted and sentenced for exposing the drone program. The drone program, 90% of the people killed are civilians, murdered like untold numbers of people. And the only person who's in trouble for that right now is Daniel Hale. Yep. And so I think that's, but they don't want you to know about it. Is anybody talking about it? Is anybody covering Daniel Hale? No, they're not. Yeah. But that's why, because they don't want you to know these things. And that's exactly what they're doing. That's why, we can't get any coverage for Medicare for all. We can't get any coverage for any of the things that matter to us because we don't have control over the narrative, and they're trying to shut us all down.
Yeah. And when it comes to Medicare for all, they can spew a different narrative, right? Like, put out the fears. Oh, it's these people want governmental control and stuff like that. This is bad or whatever and stuff like that. They suppress the narrative of why we should have Medicare for all down, and that's why it's so
Wendell
important.
Porter. There's a whistleblower, Wendell Porter. He was he used to essentially write propaganda for the health insurance companies. He came forward and admitted to what he did, and he's now trying to atone for his sins. But he literally, what he did for a living was write propaganda to misinform the American populace about the Canadian healthcare system. Yeah. That's what he did, and that's a huge part of the reason why we don't have Medicare for all in this country. Yeah. A lot of money and a lot of time and a lot of resources were spent misinforming the American people about healthcare, and that's why Julian Assange matters, because that's what we're up against, the propaganda machine. That is what we're up against on every issue, and that's why that matters. And I don't know, it's really frustrating to me that I still have to keep explaining this to grown-ass adults.
Yeah, we are all Assange.
Yeah,
literally.
we are.
Yeah, we are all.
And it shouldn't be controversial to say his name.
Yeah.
We shouldn't be asked, why are you saying his name? I don't care if you believe the smears about Julian Assange. That's not what I'm there to discuss. I'm just simply there to talk about how everything is interconnected, and we need to stop thinking, oh, this is my issue. That's all of our issues depend on press freedom. Like, they all do. And that's what people need to understand as well.
You got cheers too. When she first mentioned Julian Assange, people were cheering.
That.
Like, people were like, yeah. And I'm like, all right, here we go. We're getting heated up.
Same thing happened in Columbus too. It gave me hope. Same thing happened in Columbus. As soon as I mentioned Julian Assange, everybody started cheering. So I think that this is something that a lot of people are becoming more aware of. I think especially since the Siggy Thordarson admission where he fabricated his entire testimony. I think that really, I've seen like a floodgate since then. So that gives me a little bit of hope, but it's still really frustrating that I have to explain why Assange matters, you know?
So I wanted to play the part, Johnny, or you can play the whole thing, or we can play the part where...
Yeah. And after it, Johnny, then go back to your timestamps of people speaking so we can compare.
Okay. Yeah, if you got it. Because do you have your speech, by the way, Misty? Did you clip it out?
I didn't. Oh, I don't know if anybody recorded it or not. Sleepy was going to help us live stream, but then his grandma died.
Yeah.
So I told him to just forget it. So I don't know if anybody recorded it or not. I'm sure somebody probably did. But,
okay.
And I didn't write anything. Like I never write anything. I should, but I don't. I just like spitball. So.
Yeah, no. And like I Ohio looked really cool. I'm so glad you guys got to hang out and with Jesse. And
we had over 100 people, like in and out, which isn't bad for our first attempt at it.
Yeah.
A lot of people the people who were shitting on the sizes of the rallies were cracking me up. First of all, y'all sat at home. You sat at home, like just shut the fuck up. But also imagine if the squad had tweeted about it just once, or if Bernie Sanders had tweeted about it just once. Imagine how much bigger those rallies would have been. You're mad at the wrong people.
Yeah, exactly.
Cory Bush showed up.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later. All right, so we're gonna play it, and then I want you guys. Johnny has timestamps because a lot of people were saying that no, this was done to everybody, that you were tapped and all this stuff. No, dude, no, that's not what happened. We've shown you the background of everything that led up to
which I totally agree with. She's one of the co-anchors for Convo Couch. Here is Fiorella Isabel.
It's really amazing to come full circle because in January, Jackson, myself, and a few others here today were at Force the Vote. And it took a lot of courage to come in the bitter cold of January and to be faced with so much hatred, not just by the right, but by the Democratic establishment and some faux-aggressive leftists who refuse to call out their politicians, who refuse to hold them accountable. We have the squad who ran with working people's money, who ran and took every last cent that a lot of us had and didn't push for Medicare for All, who right now refuse to retweet any of the March events. Okay, we had one show up, Cory Bush, props to her for showing up in DC. But if you're gonna run, if you're gonna have a mask that says Medicare for All, if you're gonna have merch that says Medicare for All, and you're not gonna do a goddamn thing to actually push it, I have a problem with that because we have people dying every single day right now. One of the most memorable things I saw in that January was a young man wearing all his medical bills along his jacket. Those were all the bills that he had to pay because we don't have health care in this country. And if the government gave a damn about giving you health care, they would have done it at the very least during a pandemic. But they don't care. So the fight for health care doesn't end with Medicare for All. It is only the beginning. Because we cannot have these politicians in the government bring in big pharma to tell us everything we need to do. When did we start trusting every single politician and every single thing that came out of this big pharma? They need to get out. We the people need to write the legislation. We the people need to have our voice. And that's the reality because at the end of the day, when we were there on January 4th or 5th, fighting for Force the Vote, and there was also a Julian Assange protest, the reason we were all there was because we were censored. Because the mainstream media, like CNN right here, censors independent media. All of you here, independent media, are crucial because they don't talk about Medicare for All. They're propagandists for the state agencies. And that's why we're here today. That's why you see us here.
Okay, so now you guys have heard the whole speech because, people were clipping out parts of my speech, of course, and putting it out of context and saying, oh, she only talked about Julian Assange. You saw how much time I spent talking about Medicare for All.
Yeah.
And the squad. And of course I'm criticizing people that some of these people like the squad and blah, blah, blah. And all I said about January 6th was we had more police surrounding us at Force the Vote and at Assange, and Misty was there. We had more police surrounding us than there were on January 6th the next day when we were there covering it. That is a fact.
That is a fact. There were more cops than there were protesters on the first day.
Yep. And they had the zip ties. They're ready to start getting us and rallying us up, whatnot and stuff. Jonny did make a really quick tweet over here talking about the times. Because first of all, if you're running an event, right? And I've emceed a lot of events, right? Even when I went to the situation with you guys for Assange, I just take the bullhorn and I start doing it. Nobody's going to do it. I'm going to do it. I love doing it. I can put my little points in between every speaker, kind of, do what they do and kind of reiterate what they said or how I introduce somebody. I'll talk to their points or their strengths and stuff. But if somebody's talking a little bit long, you just kind of say, hey, kind of wrap it up, but you let them wrap it up. You don't cut them off or do that shit whatsoever.
No.
Our good friend Steve Cox had the same fucking problems. They cut him off. They were trying to grab his microphone. This wasn't about staying on a schedule and making sure people had spoken a certain amount of time because they had to hurry or they were harassed by the police. This was about controlling their narrative of what they wanted. And the speakers that they didn't like, those are the ones they harassed, cut off, and didn't let finish. So I'm glad people like Steve Cox, who went to the stairs, he did his speech, and then he went home and he did his speech. And I even saw that you say, hey, man, come on, bitch, and say your speech too as well. I mean, the guy was so pissed off. They harassed this dude. And then when they started harassing that dude, that's when I was like, man, they're going to pull me once they find out that I'm speaking because they're not going to like my ideology and it's going to go on. I felt it. And that's why I was so scared. But the people they went after are the people they just don't agree with their ideology, period, plain and simple. And they wanted to push their people
from
forward.
Day one. From the minute that they asked him to come on, people started giving him shit. People started telling him, they were trying to tell him that he couldn't come because somebody said that his social media was controversial. I'm like, I'm MC of Columbus. Have they seen my social media? This is such a bullshit excuse.
Yeah.
And then, they had Shahid there, which, listen, I love Shahid Buttar, don't get me wrong, but that's not even his district. He could have been in San Francisco. Steve Cox had voters who were probably at that rally.
Yeah.
But they wanted to cut him off. So
well, they weren't even happy that Shahid was talking here too, by the way.
Yeah.
They weren't even happy that Shahid was talking.
Accusations that were debunked by the DSA accusation. Yeah.
Really? People are still holding on to that shit?
Yeah.
And they didn't want Tara here either.
Yeah,
they didn't want her.
Because she's anti-Biden.
Jesus Christ.
Everybody should be fucking anti-Biden, especially at a Medicare for All rally. Are you kidding?
Nope.
Is this a conversation we really need to have?
They had establishment LA fucking people talking.
Yeah.
Little
anti-Medicare for All Democratic Party stooges were speaking first and after. And that's what was made time for. And that's what's really irritating here because this is about Medicare for All, not about pushing your political Democratic Party bullshit at this event. Nobody else was pushing any other bullshit. We were just talking about Medicare for All and why it's important to support people who are talking about it. What the hell?
Yeah. And let me just say this much. The progressive left, especially in LA, they don't understand power. They don't understand it. They constantly let these people speak for them that have been fucking them over for years in the thought process that they're going to move them left or convince them to change their mind, not really realizing who funds them and who they're working for. Literally, some of these people, who did a lot of this work over here for all giving groceries to poor people during this whole thing, they invited Jimmy Gomez to come on in and give them little fucking medals and little plaques and stuff like that. I'm like, people, are you fucking serious? The reason why we have these problems out here are people like Jimmy Gomez who were bought off by the state agencies. Get the fuck out of here.
They don't get it.
They don't get it.
In Columbus, we didn't even ask. The only politicians that we asked to come were Nina Turner, because she should fucking be there, and Dennis Kucinich. And those are the only, we talked about it. Should we invite elected officials? And I'm like, no, none of them are fighting for this.
Exactly. Yeah.
Why should we give them an opportunity to have a campaign rally, essentially, a campaign event, when they're not fighting for this shit? They're just going to come and spew their platitudes. I'd rather not give them the platform. So, I mean, I knew LA was bad. I've heard that LA is pretty bad as far as the organizing scene goes, and it's very cliquey, and it's very shit libby, but I didn't know it was that bad.
No, it's awful. And these people just don't get it. They still think that they're going to change the system from within. It's like me joining the mafia and trying to change within. But if we're just nicer
to them, then maybe they'll do what we want. We just have to be nicer.
Yeah. And I said that too. It's like, I'm not going to this march to ask and beg the establishment for Medicare for all. I'm going there to expose them for not giving it to us.
Yeah, and demand it.
Exactly.
Johnny, did you want to show your
show this
tweet?
here.
Yeah. So here's the time analysis I did, and this is the first image. This is in order of speaking, everybody that was their time, their
Johnny
total
numbers.
speaking time. So,
Johnny numbers.
So Victor was speaking first, and he was not tapped. He spoke for 3 minutes and 1 second. So basically, when I say they were not tapped, they were free to speak, and they weren't rushed, basically. And his mic was not snatched out of his hand. Maria Estrada's talked for 3 minutes and 35 seconds, and then she was tapped at 3 minutes and 26 seconds, so she wrapped up in 10 seconds. No mic snatched out of her hand. Rick Overton was not tapped. He had a pretty short speech. It was a lovely poem and chant. It was 2 minutes and 27 seconds, and his mic was not snatched out of his hand. Fiorella spoke for 2 minutes and 40 seconds. She was tapped 2 minutes and 7 seconds into her speech, and yes, the mic was snatched out of her hand. Hinkle spoke for 2 minutes and 55 seconds, and was also tapped at 2 minutes and 6 seconds. Ron Placone spoke for 2 minutes 53 seconds, and was tapped at 2 minutes and 25 seconds. Jimmy Dore was not tapped, and he had a total speaking time of 3 minutes 7 seconds. And then Maria Estrada spoke for a second time, spoke for a minute and 9 seconds, where she spoke about Miguel Santiago, who was a speaker.
Who was also a speaker.
She spoke shit about the establishment Democrats and mentioned Miguel Santiago, who was a speaker and spoke actually 4 minutes and 44 seconds.
Wow.
In the beginning of the march.
Almost 5 minutes.
So, I mean, first of all, only speaking for 3 minutes is really fucking ridiculous to impose on all the speakers, especially like people like who traveled to speak here.
Yeah.
Like Tara Reid, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, you're gonna spend all this money to come through and then speak for 3 minutes or something.
And she has a story to tell about her brother, and that's the kind of stories we want to hear as well.
Yeah. And let's be honest too as well. They fucking did this to us and all the other people and cut their speaking down because they want to interject their people of their ideology so they can speak. All their AB 1400 people. They want to get those people there. And also insert themselves too as well to get chances to speak. So by doing so, they had to say that they had to cut everybody's time down when they didn't even go close to going overtime. They had extra time left on the clock.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's beyond ridiculous that they did this shit.
There are no time restrictions. Like, what's the worst that's going to happen? The cops are going to start fucking...
You have permits.
Yeah,
they have permits.
Yeah,
And you don't even...
permits.
You don't even
cops,
need
listen,
permits.
The cops aren't... In Columbus, the cops were like, just do whatever. We don't care. Like, and listen, I don't like cops, but for the most part, for like a Medicare for All rally, they're not going to like cause you any problems.
Exactly.
As long as you're not, you know what I'm saying? This isn't like it's, a police brutality march or something where they're going to be more on edge. It's ridiculous. And it was so obvious, the way that you guys were treated just from them freaking out about pasta and him not being vaccinated and all the smears that were going around on Twitter, and he's a right winger, and I'm so sick of hearing this bullshit. I'm so sick of people trying to say that y'all are stop the steal. They're election integrity activists. That's what they do. And if the election happened in the United States of America, it wasn't a legitimate election. That shouldn't be a controversial thing to say. It shouldn't be controversial for people to want that to be exposed, and for people, election integrity activists, for want us to have free and fair elections. That shouldn't be a thing that people get pissy about. I'm sorry that it interrupts your whole like Donald Trump syndrome thing that you got going on, but fucking deal with it, because I'm tired of anybody who questions an election now is going to be seen as like some crazy right winger, and that's exactly what they wanted.
And it's
exactly
funny,
what they wanted.
I went back and forth with somebody. He's like, do you think that Donald Trump was cheated? And I just asked, do you think Bernie Sanders was cheated twice, 2016 and 2020? He's like, yeah, but what does that have to do? Was Donald Trump cheated? I'm like, do you understand your fucking mentality over here, brother?
It's the same election system, bozo.
I mean, yeah. Oh, and the Democrats, they get nice. They actually have a coming to Jesus moment, and they don't cheat for the general election. They only cheat in the primary, and also not the fact
both sides cheat. They cheat their
the establishment
faces
cheats.
Off.
Yes.
I mean,
they work
Republicans
together.
Use cross whatever the fuck it's called. I always call it crosstalk because of the TV show. But I mean, they have like their own little systems. They both use it. That's why neither side will call it out, because they both do it and they both want to continue to do it.
Exactly.
And so, you know, it's not, election integrity shouldn't be a partisan issue. It shouldn't be a thing where like you're fighting amongst yourself. Everybody should want free and fair elections.
It should be nonpartisan.
Yeah, and I don't want to see progressives cry when their favorites get cheated again, because I'm just going to be like, where were you the last again? Like you're playing team sports.
And those are the people we are on record fighting for. We have video, we have everything, fighting for grassroots candidates here in California.
Because you're consistent. People don't like when you're consistent, though, Pasta.
They don't.
Sorry.
They really hate that. They really hate that.
They don't. You
It
know,
drives me crazy.
it's like, oh yeah, you do this for clicks and likes. Yeah, election integrity gets us clicks and likes.
I get
Challenging
that about Assange
COVID
all the time. Y'all.
It gets us demonetized. We lose money for talking about
Do you have
this
any
shit.
idea the amount of abuse I've taken over the past 2 years for being an Assange activist, and how many times I've had to hear that I support a rapist and a hacker and a terrorist and a traitor and all this.
And a guy working for the
If I was
Russians.
gonna choose something to grift off of, it wouldn't have been Julian fucking Assange.
No shit. Can you imagine if we just played ball, Mindy Moneybags? We would have been like, oh, AOC, don't be so rough. At least they share our same ideology. Give Biden a chance. We can still push him.
Somebody said something about that Fee's, this is just a grift or whatever. I'm like, dude, if Fee wanted to grift, she could very easily like kiss the ass of progressives, not talk about Julian Assange, toe the party line, and make things very easy for herself.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys could have it very easy. You could be like a little mini TYT running around here by now.
Exactly. And we'd be
Seriously.
making money. Right now, they're pulling it away from us because we do talk about the things that they don't want other people to hear about.
Another thing I just wanted to point out. Oh, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I just had a second image here, so it's just kind of the order of the least speaking time. So Rick Overton had a little, planned out chant and everything, so it only took 2 minutes and 27 seconds. So he was like the quickest one, and that was intentional, right? Fee was cut short. She was the least amount speaking time at 2 minutes and 40 seconds, and she was prematurely tapped 2 minutes into her speech, basically. So, and then, the mic was snatched out of her hand. Takeaways, Fiorella was the only person who had the mic snatched away from them other than Steve Cox. For comparison, earlier in the event, Democrat Miguel Santiago took off his mask and spoke for 4 minutes and 40 seconds with no tap. Also, LACDP chair fascist Mark Gonzalez spoke freely for 3 minutes, no tap. It's clear only certain people were tapped/rushed to finish their speech at this event. Funny thing is, they rushed everything due to permits. You don't need a permit to protest in LA. Allowing Fee to finish her speech would have been wouldn't have been detrimental to anything. What, 2 more minutes, a minute or two? Like, come on, this is bad optics. But like we said on the stream, this event is not about us. I just wanted to lay out the facts and basically that we were targeted. And I think it was a great show and pretty decent event organized. I didn't like the time restrictions on speech, which was not made aware to us.
It wasn't made aware to anybody until they got there that day. And just real quick, I wanted to show proof from one of the organizers that we spoke to, because this is what the next one, Johnny, that she said we had a rolling street closure permit.
Yeah.
I overheard Michelle several times regarding what was going on with the stake bed, the moving stage that we were all on. And not once did I hear her mention the cops were rushing them. If Betty hadn't crammed in all her AB 1400 jackasses, all of the other speakers would have had more than enough time for their speeches. And in fact, like I said, they had bought audio equipment and they had everything. They had paid for it already, and they had to pay for, they paid for extra, and they didn't have enough speakers. So everybody should have been able to finish their speech. Steve Cox, everybody, and without being rushed. And it was a manipulation of having these politicians speak longer and on behalf of this bill when that wasn't what this whole event was about. And a lot of people are very upset. It's not us. It's other organizers on national and other organizers in LA. It's all the other people that are upset, and they will deal with it. But I don't, like I said, I love these organizers. Sharif, Ricky, they're amazing. Elizabeth, they're all amazing. And I love the hard work they did, and they were very apologetic, and they're awesome people. And I support this march. I support this organization.
Absolutely.
I don't support
the local shit.
The local shit. What happened? And there are close friends of us that we used to be friends with that are out there, defending Betty because that's their friend, and I get it. I'm not gonna trash talk these people, that's fine.
Though.
It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate
because we agree on all this shit. We agree on Medicare for all. We agree on.
You don't have to smear other people in order to still have a friend's back. Like you can just say this is an unfortunate, maybe it was a misunderstanding or whatever. But just I've seen some people come out and smear you guys, that I'm a little surprised that they're smearing you. And it's really, really unfortunate.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
you're right. Like this whole wanting to talk about, very specific bills. That's I don't have a problem with that. Like if you have one speaker come up and mention that there's a bill in the state because, that's a tool in the toolbox. But to have multiple speakers come up and try to push this thing when it's supposed to be about nationwide Medicare for all seems off message to me.
Yeah. And I don't want to necessarily go over Steve Cox's tweets. I don't think we need to, but he did.
I'm going to have him on Bitch tomorrow. So
yeah, have him on Bitch tomorrow.
Or Wednesday.
And I mean,
yeah.
And I really want to tip my hat off to Joy, because no matter what, new information comes to light, she'll reach a compromise. She's awesome like that, and she has been great. This whole process and stuff like that.
With all the attacks she's been getting.
Yeah, I mean, and even if she might have been wrong, she steered the ship right. Even her comments when it came to Cori Bush, she could have gone along just to get along, you know what I'm saying? But she didn't. She called it out for what it
hard.
is.
I was surprised, to be honest with you, that I wasn't expecting that from her, to be honest.
Either was I, and that's the thing. Yeah. She always surprises me, so I got to tip my hat off to her.
Yeah.
For steering the ship right. I mean, she might not initially have the right ideology, but she'll reach a compromise and she'll do what's right, and she did do what's right. And I just want to say thank you, Joy, for everything you did in this march over here. You did do a great job. And this is what we experienced in LA, has nothing to do with you. And yes, thank you so much for your words, especially holding Cori Bush accountable. So
yeah,
that was great.
I honestly was not expecting that at all. No. And I think that's something that's come out of this whole march and this whole event, is that I think it's radicalized a few people a little bit harder, which is really, you love to see it.
Yeah.
I love to see it so much.
I love to see it.
It makes me so happy. And I think there are more people that think like we do. They just, aren't as vocal. And so I think it's important that we build show that we support you in what you're doing, and you are going to get backlash. I mean, look at all the backlash we all get daily. These people are stalkers. They hate watch our stream. I have literally, I caught somebody saying, I hate watch Convo Couch. Thank you.
No, there are some of these people who I swear they either have me on set on the bell set so that every time I tweet they get a notification, or they just literally stalk my timeline, because I will tweet and within 3 minutes there are screenshots and it's everywhere, and everybody's complaining about how I'm so red brown and all this other crazy stuff. And y'all need a life. I know I say it all the time, but get a plant, do something productive.
A fake plant, please.
Black in the Empire, Johnny. What do you say?
Oh, I love that guy.
I love that guy too. I want to have him on.
Sometimes I feel like I share a brain with him.
I know, me too. I'm like, stop it. Every tweet, I'm just like, holy shit.
I know. I'm like, I'm going to look a little stalkery because I retweet everything he tweets. So I need to
I'm doing that right now. I'm retweeting it. There we go. Black in the Empire. Johnny, what does he say?
He says, by the time they're done with you, you won't have to worry about COVID. They'll have you killing each other over masks and vaccines.
Thank you.
And this shit's fucking...
Dude, we cannot let these fucking people divide us like that, and that's exactly what they're doing. And you're right. I don't think it's the last checkmate move, but I think it's one of the moves that they're making. I think they need something else, because there's a lot of people who think like us. They're just not political, so we don't hear it from them. But there's a lot of people, like I said, my close friends who aren't even political at all. They're like, yeah, we're not getting the vaccine, and I'm like, I have never even spoken to them about it. I'm like, why? They're like, well, because there's a lot of lies around it. I don't trust anything that hasn't been, experimented on or verified for years. This has been rushed, and all these things, rational, logical conversations with people who aren't political. This isn't political. This is the fact that people have questions and they don't trust the government. Yeah. And that's what you get.
I don't know why that's so hard for people to understand. I get the authoritarian left because that's what they do. But y'all, the pharmaceutical companies don't exactly, and listen, you cannot call me anti-vax. It's not possible. I literally made a list in 2015 of people that anti-vaxxers hate. So you cannot call me anti-vax. It's just not a thing. I'm not anti-vax.
Yeah.
I mean,
Neither
I
am
have
I.
a child with autism.
Neither
I've
am I.
been through the whole,
Yeah.
pro-vax, anti-vax, like people trying to blame my kids' autism on vaccines and all this other dumb shit. I've been in the trenches of that fight before. I'm not anti-vax in any way, shape, or form. But these are pharmaceutical companies who do not have a good track record. Our government has already been busted lying to us about COVID and the, response to it and all of that stuff numerous times.
Yeah.
And you're asking me to trust them and go inject myself and my children with something I have no idea if it's a legitimate thing or if it's safe or if it's, I'm not doing that. And that doesn't make me a bad person. That means that I have healthy skepticism for people in power. And it's okay if you want to go get vaccinated. That's fine. I'm not begrudging anybody their own personal choice.
Absolutely.
But you don't get to ostracize me because I'm making a different choice.
Yes.
I am still safe when I'm out in public. We don't really go out much just to begin with. So don't come for me and act like I'm some kind of terrible person because I'm a little bit more skeptical than you are. That's ridiculous.
And the medical tyranny I'm talking about is also supported by the mainstream media and all these little freaking followers, these sheep that regurgitate and re-spit out these words about you have to do it for your part to help society. This is about looking out for one another. Your decisions will affect me.
Stop being selfish.
Yeah, stop being
The greater
selfish.
good.
Stop using your privilege.
Fuck you and your greater good. If they gave a shit about the greater good, you would have Medicare for all right now. They would be paying people to stay home. They would lock it down and they would pay everybody a boatload of money just to stay home. It's not about your health. This is about power and control.
Thank you.
And that's not to say that COVID isn't like a real threat and that people aren't getting sick and that but stop. You're letting your lizard brain take over and they're using fear to manipulate your response to this. And you have to be mindful of that because they use fear against us constantly.
Yes.
It's the first thing that they use. That's the easiest tool in the toolbox for them to use.
And it's very effective.
And again, it's okay if you want to go along and get the vaccine and all of that stuff. I honestly am not going to call you a sheep. I'm not doing that shit. I'm not out here to try to get under your skin or trigger you or any of that. None of that stuff. But just do your own research, come to your own conclusion, and let other people do the same.
Yeah,
that's not asking that much.
And the thing about it is like I'm with you, Misty. I say if you want to do it, go ahead and do it. But I'm still mad at the conditions that were set by the predator class to force people into these decisions. They just wanted to get their freedom back, or they wanted to keep their job, or they wanted to be able to travel. There's
we're
out
level
here.
Of coercion going on.
We're here in LA, literally having fights about oh, you're not vaxxed, you should be vaxxed, you can't be vaxxed, this and this and that. And in France, they're going crazy because there's vaccine passports and they're going nuts. Where the hell are the minds of our people when it comes to this stuff?
We're so propagandized.
Yes, we are.
Yeah.
And this next clip I have, and Misty, I went on Get Your Shit Together, Flow News Day the other day after I got pulled from speaking. I got the boot. And I started off with thanking Steve Poikonen for getting me thrown off the stage because he was the main reason we got black-pilled on this whole situation. Andrew, your partner, had a little bit to do with it. Jason Permis had a little bit to do with it. The Last American Vagabond, Whitney Webb. They all had a little bit to do with it. You know what I'm saying? But this asshole, Steve Poikonen,
motherfucker,
this mother, he got me thrown off the stage. He's got me kicked out of stuff. This is his goddamn fault. But on the show, towards the end, he made this rant that is my favorite rant of all time right now. Fiorella probably has 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. But Steve now just went to number 1 with this rant, and I want you to listen to this because
it's great.
In a nutshell, this is what it's all about.
Here's the fucking thing, and I don't understand why all of the sudden the left doesn't understand this. I don't understand why half the fucking libertarians I talk to don't understand this. I don't understand why the right doesn't understand it. I don't understand why Democrats don't understand it to a large extent. And I'm talking about voters here. I'm not talking about anyone in a position of perceived power. I'm talking about the actual fucking voters. There's no such fucking thing as right or left in this moment. There's not. It's gone. The fucking idea of nation states in the minds of the oligarchs that actually pull the levers of power. Nation states are gone.
Yeah.
What you guys are down here bickering about in terms of right and left, that's a fucking distraction. It is oligarchs and the rest of us.
Yeah.
And that's fucking it. And until we can push the petty over to the side for a little bit and fucking go handle that, they win. Every time you fucking devolve into some partisan bickering, they win. Every time you lash out at someone else because of a politically motivated, in your mind, stance, they win.
Yeah.
Every time. And I have never seen people trip over their own dicks like the fucking progressive left. You fucking make Trump voters look less gullible than you, and these are people who think Jesus Christ handpicked Donald Trump to run the country, and you, progressives, are so much more gullible. Get your shit together.
All right, that has about 3.3 thousand views. I think I've watched it 1,000 times myself. Right? I mean, Steve, I love you, Steve. Thank you so much for saying that so eloquently. It's just awesome. I mean, it is.
This is what we've been talking about on Action for Assange for over 2 years.
Exactly.
The whole point of that movement was to be a post-partisan movement because this shit, none of that shit fucking matters. I've been saying this for years and years and years. On matters of war in Wall Street, we have one party. Everything else is used to keep the people divided. Never mind the man behind the curtain. They don't want you looking back there. They don't want you focused on Nancy Pelosi and her insider trading and all of that shit that's going on, and the fact that there's like a dozen unnamed billionaires that nobody knows who the fuck they are that really control everything, and they're the ones controlling the levers of power. None of that stuff matters. All of that, people get mad at me because I talk to libertarians. Like, oh, I can't believe you would talk to libertarians and you claim to be on the left. Are you kidding? You want to have an argument about economic theory? Are you fucking joking? Can we first deal with the fact that we have a system that's designed to kill us, and then we can fight about that shit? Because none of that shit matters until we deal with the actual problem, which is the fact that we live in an absolutely corrupted oligarchy. And this whole entire system that we live under is designed to kill us, and y'all want to like get pissy about economic theory and like some dumb shit. And I'm not saying that like some of these issues that they use to divide us aren't important. They are. Matters of abortion and race and all of those things, very important things that we are going to have to deal with, that we have disagreements on. We're going to have very difficult conversations about with people we don't agree. But we can't even begin to even almost deal with those issues until we fight the system that's killing everybody. Because that's just putting a Band-Aid on a dead body. It's dumb.
The fight is authoritarianism versus anti-authoritarianism versus anti-authoritarianism versus fascism is ultimately where we're at right now. Like, we have ever encroaching fascism. Everybody's a domestic violent
we live
extremist.
in a fascist state.
We
right
do.
Fucking now.
We do.
Right now. And some of y'all be calling Fee and I fascist, and you voted for a fucking fascist. So you need to take a hard look in the mirror and figure your shit out, because I'm getting tired of it.
And that is why we had Mindy Moneybags on the show today, ladies and gentlemen, to look at the macro, not just the micro. Misty, we love you. Thank you so much.
Can you say some words about Daniel Hale? I know that he faces trial tomorrow. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So the sentencing tomorrow starts at, I believe, at 8 a.m. There's going to be a demonstration outside of the court. If you're in the D.C. area, please try to make it down. I was going to try to make it down. My mom's on vacation. It's a whole thing. So yeah, he's facing sentencing tomorrow. He's really getting railroaded. So he has already pled guilty to one charge. Yeah. He has a total of 5. They're refusing to dismiss the other 4 until they see what sentence he gets. If they decide that it's an adequate enough sentence and that he's being punished harshly enough, then they might drop the other 4. If they don't think that he's gotten a harsh enough sentence, they're going to keep those hanging over his head so that they can make sure that he gets, the book thrown at him in any way whatsoever. And this is a guy who exposed, just for everybody who doesn't know, this is a guy who exposed the drone program. Yeah. And so, 90% civilians are killed. And not only did he expose the drone program and the literal murder that our elected officials, specifically Barack Obama, were authorizing, he also exposed the watch list program and how people get put on that. And people have used his revelations to help get themselves off the no-fly list. So this is not just about the drone program. He's helped a lot of people with these revelations that he's come out with. Kevin Gastola's been doing an amazing job on reporting on this. We just did an interview with him on Facts on the Ground. And also Daniel Hale just released an 11-page letter. It's like 10 and a half pages that he wrote to the judge who's presiding over his sentencing. You can find that on thedissenter.org if you want to go read it. It's a very heartbreaking letter. Daniel Hale's a very good dude. This is a guy who, once you get charged with the Espionage Act, it's kind of hard to find employment, right? It's not always easy to find a job. He managed to find a job as a dishwasher in a restaurant in DC and ended up getting fired. Why? Because he tried to unionize the staff. So that's the kind of guy that we're dealing with. He's a good dude. He exposed some of the worst, crimes that we've committed. It's literally playing a video game with somebody's life. It's life or death. They had like baseball trading cards where they would decide who gets to live and die for the day. So this is a guy who definitely deserves your support. You can go to standwithdanielhale.com or org. I'm not sure. I'm sorry. But he has like a support website where you can go. You can donate. You can sign a petition. All of those things. But we need to stand up for our truth tellers now more than ever. They are so crucial moving forward.
Yep.
So yeah, thanks for letting me mention that because
of course,
nobody's covering it.
Yeah, nobody's covering it, and I'm so happy you're doing the tweet storm and you're covering it. It's so important right now. We protect all whistleblowers, especially the ones the wrong people are in jail. The wrong people are in jail. Barack Obama and all these warmongers, they deserve to be in jail. Not Daniel Hale, not Julian Assange. And again, we are all these people because we could all potentially land in their shoes. So thank you for bringing attention to that.
Yeah.
Yes, of course. And thanks for having me on, guys. It was good to see you.
No doubt. It's just funny that the people who are arguing over COVID vaccines aren't even paying attention to stuff like Daniel Hale. It's a shame. Thank you so much, Mindy Moneybags. You're the best.
Guys. Bye,
See you later,
Johnny.
girl.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Amazing person. Amazing activist. So awesome. Love her to death.
We love her and her potty mouth because she understands me.
Yeah, she does.
And my potty mouth.
Johnny, did you want to show anything from Kobe real quick, or did you want to just get to the next subject and I'll read some super rays?
Yeah, let's read the super rays.
All right, so I'm going to read some super rays real quick. There's a bunch of them to go through. We have 106 people watching on Rokfin, guys. That is so friggin' awesome. We have 400 people watching on the YouTubes. Get on over to Rokfin. You don't even have to sign up for an account. You just click on and chill out and hang out. But if you can sign up for the free account, we do appreciate it. Follow us. We're at almost 22,000 followers on Rokfin. I can't wait for the day that we catch up to YouTube to kick them in the face right there for what they're doing to us. So we read Jackie's thing. Reed Barker said, the sound's a little off, fam. Thank you, Reed. We got it fixed. Carrie Mark says, Medicare for All March infiltrated by underhanded Dem operatives. There is no sound. We got the sound working. Sounds good. Michelle Russell Brown, thank you for the Super 8 contribution. It is always appreciated on the couch. 106 people watching. This is awesome, guys. Get over to Rockville. Let's get to 150 today. Trey Wright is here, fam. Don't worry. Trey is here. Love you
Trey.
all. Love you, Trey. Carrie Mark, sound is good now. Thank you, Carrie Mark, who spends money to let us to know that our stuff's working. You are awesome. MVia, thank you so much. A very nice, generous Super 8 contribution. I haven't even listened yet, but grateful for you three powerful truth tellers and how Fee have come full circle. Thank you so much, Ms. Via.
Thank you, Ms.
We
Via.
love you. We will always love you. No offense. Thank you so much for the Super 8 contribution. It is always appreciate it on the couch.
He always does this to me.
Thank you. No offense. You're the greatest. Hunter Carranza. We love you. That's our fam right over there doing some work for Raw right now. But we'll catch up in a bit. Much love to you. Jim Garrison. Nailed it, Pasta. Jim, you nailed it too. We love you. Ungi's here in the house. Apparently, hashtag resist has devolved into hashtag obey. Wow. Ungi, thank you, fam, for always swimming upstream. P.S. Fuck Lauren Steiner. Yes, no doubt. I get it, too, as well. Rem, thank you so much. The fact is that Pasta and Fiorella were both muzzled on Big Media Day. This is about hoops for activists, enforced from the inside. Once again, Fiorella and Pasta, you handled yourselves and spoke beautifully. Fiorella, you're killing it. Before you were cut off and you were going to end it with a fire, too. She was getting the crowd riled up. It was there. She was going to slam dunk it down, and they pulled the mic from her because they don't like her ideology, and that's the reason why they did it. This was no accident. It's so difficult being out in front. Stay strong. Thank you so much. How did you guys get ivermectin?
I was just going to say something. But
well, say something. Tell these people first, and then say something.
Go down to Mexico, and then you can grab it. Or you can order it through the... you can find links to order it from Mexico or India. The complete guide to health.com.
Yep.
What was I going to say? Keith was saying, if you don't get your mic snatched, then are you doing anything? Or if you don't get your mic snatched, you're not doing something right.
Yeah.
Or if you get your mic snatched, you're doing something right.
Yeah.
If you don't get your mic snatched, you're doing something wrong. Shadow Band Refugee. Orale! Man, oh man, it's good to see Jimmy fire-breathing Dore call out censorship of an activist in real time, 2 feet away from him. OG North American Ape. Yo, what's good, fam? Been on a bit of a break. Good lucks for the merch. Almost forgot about it. LOL. I saw on Franco's Discord that Cori Bush quietly showed up to the march.
Yep.
And I cackled. By the way, what's up, OG? Love to hear you. Thank God you're back. We missed you, brother. It baffles me that some folks will give politicians the benefit of the doubt because they give you all little attention. If it does, it does. If is that it or TF? What is that?
I don't know.
It does.
Maybe he mistyped.
Does it matter if she won't endorse or promote the cause? That's just private ally.
Exactly. Actually, I just got Kobe. 15, 20 or so. We can have him on. So you can send me the link whenever. But yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, that was it. I mean, we have 112 people watching over there. OG North American Ape, it's great to see you back in. We love you, brother.
You.
I hope you got your shirts and stuff that we sent you. Jordan and you out in D.C. was like such a breath of fresh air to meet you guys. That's when we met Hunter. It was an amazing time out there.
Amazing.
And when the real peeps show up, and you guys are the real peeps, you are the real fams, we got your back. We love you. Thank you so much for having ours. You guys are amazing, and we will always love you. I'm glad you're back in the game. We needed you, OG. Glad you're back.
So we're gonna have Kobe on because Kobe is the one that asked Cori Bush the tough questions, didn't shy down. There were other journalists there that didn't ask any tough questions. So I want to talk to him about that. So we're gonna have him come on to talk about the Cori Bush and all of that because I agree with you and everybody else. It was an absolute photo op. She never promoted the event. Then she shows up. She's the only one. And then she gets asked the hard question, leaves. And of course, there's the other side arguing how, well, you wanted them to show up. And when they show up, it's not good enough. It's like, no, it's not. It's not. It's like, why are you sending one person that hadn't promoted it at all? And you know, that's the issue I have. Like, why can't you be vocal about something? If you're not vocal about something, to me, that means you're afraid of something or that you don't want to get some backlash. And depending on the situation, I can understand it. But when you're a politician, you're a public servant. We put you in there to serve the public. We don't put you in there to be nice. And at this point right now, being nice isn't where we're at. We're here to be nuclear to people because some people said, "Oh, we don't need nuclear." They were criticizing Jimmy Dore's speech. They were criticizing my speech. Oh, we don't need nuclear right now. No, we need nuclear. That's exactly what we fucking need. We need to go and make these politicians uncomfortable. We've been saying that for like over 2 years on the show. That the only way is to make these people uncomfortable. And if you have a problem with making politicians uncomfortable, you're going to have a problem with the future movements that are going to be on the ground. That's their very, very demand right now is to go and do that. And I know that, you know, I'm not a huge fan of MPP, but at least Jim Keedy and others are going to AOC's office to demand, to make certain demands out of her because she's not fulfilling her purpose. And that's where we're at right now. I don't really care who you are, if I like you or if I don't. If you're out there doing direct actions, more power to you. Yeah. Real direct actions that make politicians uncomfortable.
Okay, fam, I sent you the link. I'm just going to go over his tweets real quick while you send him that link.
And then I have something to read real quick.
Well, we have the Afghanistan thing.
Well, no, we can play this here. I can read this here, and we'll probably get him on, right? Because it's one topic. We want to stay in the one topic and stuff.
Okay.
While you send them, Johnny, you want to play that first, or you want me to read this really quick? Because somebody sent me this morning. I have it here. I'm going to just read it from my phone real quick because somebody sent this to me today. Because a lot of people ask me, Pasta, why didn't you just do the bare minimum and wear a mask and take a test? And I said no, because once we start giving up our personal freedoms, it's all over. A friend of mine wrote me something, and I want to read it here because it's amazing. Okay. It's really quick. Since the events of 9/11, we have been on a steady march to line up behind whatever the popular authoritarian narrative is. Bush made it abundantly clear. You're with the terrorist or you're with us. So our fall progressive or fall patriotism in hand, we all waved our flags and stood at the door to hand in our rights in order that we may protect our democratic way of life. Edward Snowden and Julian Assange shined a light on the crimes of the military-industrial complex as well as the crimes against children by many of the elites and the criminality of the Clinton Foundation and the DNC. So once again, we lined up to drink the Kool-Aid, ignoring these revelations in favor of the manufactured fictions about the evil Putin and the threat of the Russian bear. And then, of course, there was the Trump and the DNC's manufactured Dr. Evil, their own supervillain who had been a longtime loyal Democrat and party buddy of the Clintons, who, after winning the election with the help of this evil buddy Vladimir Putin, became the media's favorite whipping boy and the greatest threat to democracy America and this world have ever faced. The Trump presidency, other than putting more honest and forthright face on the American imperialism, did little more than further enrich the elites, strengthen the military-industrial complex, and provide a boogeyman which, thanks to the cognitive dissonance fostered by Trump derangement syndrome, succeeded in eradicating any critical reason or revolutionary thoughts that had been destroyed by the Trojan horses of Obama and Bernie Sanders. The coup de grace was a double hitter. The orchestrated so-called insurrection and the pandemic, mainstream media and our misleaders would have us believe that in order to protect us from the evil white supremacists hiding under our collective beds and save us from those who likely voted against the orange man are jeopardizing our health and American way of life, we should line up like good little boys and girls and happily take the experimental vaccine which Big Pharma has generously prepared for you. Of course, throughout the last 18 or so months, mainstream media has never hearkened back to the specter of the swine flu, which is an eerie predecessor of our current crisis. If my recollection serves me right, I was only 15 at the time, but 40 million Americans were vaccinated under an aggressive PR campaign before the program was shelved following a plethora of illness, death, and subsequent lawsuits. All that said, I know the Me Too movement has been relegated to my eyes are swelling up, annals of history, but what about the iconic mantra of the feminist movement, my body, my choice? We stand on the precipice of imminent biosphere collapse in the midst of the greatest economic downturn in world history, a global pandemic, multiple geopolitical crises, and unprecedented wealth and power grab by the elites. And because the ruling class have mastered the art of misdirection, divide and conquer, we the people lack the cohesion to rally against an open enemy and come together as a singular force to demand our birthright. The bar has been repeatedly lowered again and again. Where our freedoms are concerned, and we have no quarter remaining, we must die on the hill of physical sovereignty. We are all guaranteed the right of informed consent under international law. And if we allow this final pillar of international law to be breached, then all is certainly lost. We can resign our failed democracy and its inherent promise to the mausoleum of inequality. I'm sorry, my face is written saying. We must cease fighting over the crumbs of the slave masters. We do not have the luxury of arguing over semantics, manners, decorum, cultural norms, gender, and race. There is no left and right. It's only right or wrong. The idea there can be divisions within any movement for social justice and equality, like the example of Medicare for all, is absurdly, especially during a pandemic. The rich are insured and the rest of us are not, and we pay far too much for our insurance. There is no room for discussion or nuance here. Okay, we must demand it. It's a human right. Those of us who have taken our eyes off the prize are not our friends. Those who would have us argue about wearing a mask or not wearing one, getting vaccinated or not, voting red or blue, these are constructs. The real questions are about freedom and health. Do you support my right to think and speak my truth, to voice my opinion, and I yours? Do I support your right to due process under the law and sovereignty over your own body and your own mind? Are my basic needs like health, subsistence, and housing guaranteed, and yours as well? Is our natural environment and other Mother Nature afforded the same or greater protections than our citizens and our corporations, thus ensuring a future for our, what's that word?
Progeny.
Thank you, progeny. Our freedom must be paramount. Was it not Patrick Henry who said the ethos by saying, give me liberty or give me death? I know I probably butchered a lot of that because it's so small and it was hard to read, but it was something somebody sent me today, and it is so fucking true and stuff like that. Once we give up our personal freedoms and once we allow them to come in the door, we lose everything. We have nothing. We are slowly moving towards authoritarian control, and we're talking full control. And the fact that when people want me to do something to ease their thoughts and their concerns is ridiculous.
It's one thing to ease actual safety, like if it was actually life or death, but that's not what it was. It was somebody's attempt to bully and to control other people's thought. That's what it was. It wasn't about safety. If it had been safety, it would have been a different issue. It was never about safety.
If it had been safety, then the other people that weren't vaccinated
Yeah.
and Miguel Santiago, who took off his mask, they would have said something to him. They didn't say anything to him. Steve Cox took off his mask, and Betty rushed over and said, "Put on your mask!" to him. I don't know if anyone caught that in the stream, but that happened. And then...
but she didn't say it to everybody. She only said it to certain people she didn't like.
Exactly.
Yeah. There are certain people who should not be in charge. There are certain people who can't get out of their oir bubble. There are certain people who just believe their own ideology and believe that they're right.
And
they're morally right.
And let me be very clear. You can be a great organizer, and I appreciate the things she has done for Healthcare for All at a local level. I appreciate the activism. I appreciate the great organizing some of these people in LA have done. They're great organizers. That doesn't give you the justification to be an asshole. It doesn't give you the justification to be a bully and you know, just pretty much take a giant truck and drive over everybody else because you want things done a certain way. I don't care who you are or what you add to this movement. It doesn't give you the ability to be an arrogant prick about it. And that's what I have a problem with across the board. So while we get Kobe on, let's play his video, fam. Let's play his video, his thread. That way when he gets on here, we can discuss.
Yeah.
Yes, I sent him the link.
Okay, cool. All right, so I saw this today. I was like, oh, wow. The man who asked Cori Bush about forced to vote recount of what happened. How dare us plebs ask about not endorsing Pelosi as speaker so a concession could be made, like bringing Medicare for all to the floor. So here's Kobe, and look at his fucking shirt. Anyways.
I saw that.
An explanation of what happened at Medicare for March for Medicare for All in D.C. when I tried to interview Cori Bush. So listen to this. This is pretty crazy. 12,000.
Okay, so I was going to wait till tomorrow morning to do this, but I just want to get it out of my head right now, you know, while it's still fresh, while the sunburn's still fresh on my face, you know. So I met Cori Bush. Representative Cori Bush made a surprise appearance at the March for Medicare for All rally in Lincoln Park in Washington, D.C. today. And so, you know, noticing Cori Bush, I walk over to her and I ask, can I interview you? You know, can I just ask you 2 questions on camera, just real quick? You know, her and her security guard look at each other. They're kind of suspicious of me. They're like, you know, who are you with? And I say, I'm totally independent. I'm just doing this for myself. Yeah, I just do this alone. And then I was like, here, I'll even tell you the questions before I start filming so that you can decide whether you want to do this or not. And so I said, the first question is, why are you here today? You know, why'd you show up to the March for Medicare for All? The second question was, how would you respond to your force the vote critics who think that elected progressives should use their leverage as a block? And Cori responds, I'll answer the first question for you. I support Medicare for All because, you know, a good answer on why you would support Medicare for All. But then when it came to the second question, I asked again, you know, why can't you answer the second question? Oh, it's just manufactured division. You know, it's not really a problem. You know, we're not that divided at all. That's just manufactured. You know, basically just brushing it off as if nobody has a reasonable concern, like as if force to vote wasn't even a real thing. And so while she's walking away, I say that was a very politician-y answer of you to give. Because it was like, what the fuck? She totally just dodged it. You know, all of these people showed up this day. Plenty of them, you'll see in the interviews I post, plenty of them were supporters of forcing the vote on Medicare for All. And for Cori Bush to just disrespectfully say that it's a manufactured division and that it's not worthy of her to respond to, I mean, I was furious. So, but, you know, it's over. She walks away. She's still here at the rally today. Okay.
Okay. There's a second one. Yeah, well, he's coming on shortly.
Cool. What's the second one? I didn't see it.
So then I'm filming the she's still here at the rally today. Okay, we're happy. So then I'm filming the event, people giving their speeches and whatnot, and Savage Joy was giving a really good speech about force the vote and why it was so personal to her because of her own personal history, her medical history and whatnot. And so I felt this feeling jumping out of my chest of, I need to say something because Cori Bush is here, and I know she's going to get credit for looking good, for showing up to this event surprisingly. Wow, so awesome that she showed up. But then, you just have somebody like Savage Joy up here giving a heartfelt explanation about how Force the Vote made her feel. And I was like, no, Cori Bush is not about to get away with what she said to me, and nobody else knowing that she said that to me. And I was so pissed that I didn't film Cori Bush right away. I was being respectful when I walked up to Cori Bush. I didn't have the phone in her face filming right away. No, I even let her vet the questions ahead of time. I didn't even start filming right away. I should have been filming, so I have proof that she said these things. But, so, Savage Joy is giving this speech, and it's really touching and really inspiring to me. So finally, I shout out, go look over there, there's Cori Bush over there. She, is against Force the Vote. She said that it's a manufactured division and that it's not a real divide. But, so she was basically, I called out Cori Bush in front of everybody, trying to point out, she's invalidating you, Savage Joy. Cori Bush is here, and that's great. We're so happy that she's there in solidarity. But how can you, on one hand, be there in solidarity, but then on the other hand, the people you're there in solidarity with, you won't even give us a straight answer on working together as a bloc to leverage against the establishment? And that's a lot of people there want that answer. That's why I asked Cori Bush that question directly. And it's just like, and after I called her out in front of everybody, Cori Bush just kind of walks away.
Yeah.
All right, Kobe.
Yeah.
You here?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
You learned a valuable lesson in citizen journalist. As a citizen journalist.
What lesson is that I learned?
Don't let them vet the question. Just get the microphone and ask them.
Oh, no.
I did that to Debbie Wasserman Schultz.
I could film. Yeah. I should have just been filming right away.
Yes. We did that because I thought I was going to be respectful to Debbie Wasserman Schultz and maybe get a couple questions, and I never got the chance. And I'll never forgive myself.
That's a way worse person to want to be nice to on a question.
But I fucked up. Because I should have said, hey, man, what do you stand on Venezuela? What's going on? You believe, what I'm saying? Or what's going on? Well, how come you never debated your opponent this time around? Or whatever the case may be. Instead, I was like, hi, Debbie. And I kind of laughed because Fam had just been saying, look at her
ramen noodle hair.
Ramen noodle hair.
I was in the car, and he was like outside. She came up to the car, and she was like, and that was the whole thing. It was crazy.
But despite that, great work, great shirt.
Yes, great shirt.
Yeah,
you
I was not planning on having anything so eventful happen at this march.
Yeah,
I was kind of just like walking around interviewing random people about why they're there, how they feel about Force the Vote, and then I look over and I ask somebody, I'm like, is that Cori Bush over there? And they're like, yeah, that's Cori Bush, and I'm like, I'm gonna go try to interview her real quick before I interview you. Like, I'll be right back. And so then I walk over to her and I ask, hey, can I interview you? And the person she's with, I found out was her chief of staff, I think. Mm-hmm. They just look at each other and they look at me and they are very suspicious. I'm like, don't worry.
Of your anti-imperialist shirt?
Yeah. The anti-imperialist shirt, the don't extradite Assange button.
Yeah.
But so they're like, who are you with? And I'm like, totally independent. Like, I just post this on Twitter myself. They're like, they just had an awkward silence for a few seconds. I'm like, wait, I'll even tell you the questions. You know what I mean? To make you even more comfortable that you can trust me, And then, I explained, why are you here today? That's the first question. And then, how would you respond to Force the Vote critics who think that elected progressives should work together as a bloc to leverage against the establishment? And then her immediate response was, well, we'll answer the first question.
I know.
And I'm like, why not the second one? And that was when she got into, oh, well, there's more that unites us than divides us. It's kind of a made-up thing, just an internet thing. Nobody really cares about it. I'm like, whoa, tons of people here, Movement for a People's Party. There's Green Party people here, people who want to see progressives work as a bloc, whether it's inside or outside of the Democratic Party. They want progressives to oppose the establishment. And I was so angry I didn't get it on tape. But, I walked away. I was like, whatever, I'll post about it when I get home from the march. You know, it's just a story, I guess. But then when, you know, before Savage Joy was giving her speech, there's actually this guy on the stage. I can't remember his name for the life of me. I have the video on my Twitter. But he was giving a speech about, you know, it's time we stop asking nicely. You know, we need to make politicians work for us, and we need to stop asking and demand it. And so I hear this speech, and I'm like, yeah, you know, I'm really upset about what Cori Bush did. And then I hear Savage Joy go, okay, I'm going to talk about Force the Vote now, why it's so personal to me. And I'm like, oh. And I know that everybody's over there hyping up Cori Bush right now because she's here, and those people don't know that she feels that way about our opinion of, you know, wanting more opposition to the Democratic Party establishment. And so then finally I'm like, well, I guess, you know, this is the only time this entire rally that anybody's going to talk about Force the Vote on the stage. So I guess I need to do that now. And I just kind of shouted out, you know, Cori Bush is here, and she said that it's manufactured division and that not that many people really, you know, care about it. And then rather than, you know, getting on the stage, setting the record straight, having a dialogue about it, I mean, she stayed. I'm not going to act like she like just walked away and immediately left the event. But she did walk towards the back of the event and kind of just hovered for a little bit back there and then walked away. I don't know if you have seen anything on Twitter today.
Yeah, I saw. We just played your video. So your whole explanation video.
I'm saying she still hasn't responded to it though yet, has
Oh,
she?
no.
She's not going to respond.
No, she's not going to respond to it. I wanted to ask you, because you also got attacked by other people. You were attacked by Status Quo. I was going to say Status Quo.
Surprisingly.
Status Quo.
I was right next to Jen at the event. I was literally like 2 people next to her filming the event right next to her. I was so surprised when I just saw that she posted a clown emoji to my tweet this morning, and I was like, whoa, like, what? I was surprised because I mean, I don't know. I've liked Status Quo since 2016. I remember Jordan Sheraton, you know, confronting Donna Brazile about the whole Russiagate narrative to cover up the DNC leaks in 2016. And so, you know, I was happy though. Jen apologized. I wasn't necessarily happy with their stance on what I did, or, you know, them thinking. I was so confused because what did Jordan say? He said that he doesn't think bird dogging is bad. You know, he agrees with bird dogging, but he thinks there's a difference between bird dogging and the venom that I spit at Cori Bush.
Okay.
What? Wait.
What go
venom?
ahead.
Could you do that in slow motion so my brain can grasp it?
Yeah, if you look at the Twitter exchange we had, he said, I agree with you, bird dogging. Bird dogging is not the problem. The problem is how you did it, the confrontational way that you did it.
Okay, people are dying.
I didn't, you know, I thought I was pretty tame and calm in the way I did it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You went above and beyond. You gave her the questions beforehand. So she could even come up with I would have come up with a bullshit answer. I would have been like, you know what? I would have liked to got on the Force the Vote thing, but I was new to Congress and I didn't know how the other members felt, and I was just trying to feel myself out. So if that's revisited again, maybe I'll be able to jump on this whole thing that we can force a vote, because I am for Medicare for all. I would have given the bullshit answer, but she couldn't even do that. And the fact that you gave her the questions first.
It's like they don't even seem like they still want to form any sort of block.
No.
You know?
Yeah.
There's no discussion. She said on CNN when she was asked that question, Cori Bush said, you know, we vote alone. And the reason I wanted to ask the question, I mean, because some people on Twitter are criticizing me saying, you know, maybe you shouldn't have said the word force the vote. Maybe you should have kept it more general and kept that buzzword out of it. And it's like, well, I disagree with them on that. The reason I connect it is because, okay, so force the vote is this tactic that we had this big split on in the left.
Yeah.
And who sits on each side of this split? You know, the people who are anti-force the vote are the ones who are typically more vote blue no matter who, work within the Democratic Party indefinitely.
Right.
And the people who support force the vote are much more so, you know, Movement for a People's Party, Green Party, PSL, you know, third parties or independents who are fed up with the Democratic Party. And so I wanted to ask the question about force the vote because it naturally connects to that other question of, well, if you're not going to form a block within the Democratic Party,
right,
how are you going to respond to your critics outside of the Democratic Party who don't think this strategy is working?
Right.
Great questions.
And for me, it's like,
Great
look,
questions.
like you're a concerned citizen here, and you're asking the right questions that any other concerned citizen would. And the fact is, this is a Medicare for All march, a direct action to push Medicare for All at a federal level, because we've failed at pushing it legislatively. We've been waiting years and years and years. When Nancy Pelosi was younger, she was talking about universal health care. And they've been dangling this carrot over and over again about universal health care, and nothing has been done. So to ask people to be polite to public servants who ran on the issue, because people always say, why not? Why don't you attack Joe Manchin? Why don't you go after Nancy Pelosi? I'm like, they didn't run on Medicare for all. They didn't wear the merch. They didn't wear a mask that says Medicare for all. I didn't donate my money to them. I donated my money to the squad to fight for things, and if they're not doing that, I'm gonna go after them.
After Pelosi really hard, that was like the whole thing about Force the Vote was like I wouldn't have even supported Pelosi in the first place. It would have been a non-starter. It would have been immediately. I'm not supporting Pelosi for Speaker of the House. She had a 35%, 40% approval rating nationally. Medicare for All's got a 60% approval rating. Like the numbers are on our side, but it's like people shouldn't be so vitriolic with us for having this distrust. Because, like you said, Pelosi used to support Medicare for all. Then slowly she eroded to the right over time. Hillary Clinton wrote Bernie Sanders a letter in the 90s thanking him for his hard work on single-payer health care. She also shifted to the right over time. AOC and the squad, they used to support forcing the vote. And now, we don't even see them pushing Joe Biden on the public option publicly, adamantly, as viscerally as we want them to. So the fear is that eventually you're going to see AOC and the squad slowly shift right in the same way that we see Pelosi and Hillary Clinton did, and we'll not end up with, universal health care for more than a decade. Yeah. Which is ridiculous. We're one of the only countries in the world to not have it.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the funny thing, talking about elected officials. That's why, they said we're not talking about candidates running, maybe, who knows, whatever. But Dennis Kucinich, when this shit all went down with the Affordable Care Act, he was putting his foot down. He was trying to force them through his vote. He was withholding his vote to say, you're going to put the public option on this bill right over here, or I'm not voting it and you're not getting it through. And that's what we wanted these squad members to do. Put your foot down. Say, you're not getting shit unless you give us what we want. And they all of them ran on Medicare for all. Mm-hmm. Period. Plain and simple. So.
And go ahead.
I was just going to say, it's so interesting how they move the goalposts on that force the vote thing, where the first thing is, well, you guys don't want Kevin McCarthy to win, right?
Yeah.
And then we debunk that. We proved that there's no way that could happen unless Democrats had supported him. And then it's kind of like, well, you didn't have an alternative for Speaker of the House, so what's the point in delaying it? You just end up with somebody who's just as bad as Nancy Pelosi. And it's like, they don't realize that if we had blocked it, Nancy Pelosi doesn't want to not be Speaker of the House. You know what I mean? She's not going to let us just defeat her and have them put a different establishment Democrat in her place. Like, no, she'd probably fold because she knows it's not going to pass in a floor vote anyway. And then they'll just shift to the angle of, oh, well, look, it didn't pass, so now this is really bad for the Medicare movement. Look how naive they were to push it this way. They would have just gone to that angle. They would have given it to us, the floor vote on Medicare for all. Well, our whole point is it doesn't hurt the movement because we're in a global pandemic. Hundreds of thousands of Americans just died. We have millions of people who are uninsured and underinsured. How could they have possibly spun it so that AOC and all of them pushing for Medicare for all were the bad people when Nancy Pelosi and them all are the ones standing in the way of it? I think they would have lost that media moment. It would have pushed Medicare for all closer to happening.
Here's my question to you, Kobe. Given your experience right now with what happened with just merely asking a question and demanding an answer from a public servant that is a public servant that serves the people, and the negativity that's not only come from her, but from those defenders of the squad, the people who still believe that we need to be nice to politicians. Where are you at in terms of political strategy? Because from what I've seen from the Medicare for All marches, I think that has radicalized people. We had Misty on earlier, who was in Ohio, and I love to see the radicalization of people understanding that we cannot rely on politicians any longer. Where do you stand on that? Because you obviously know from Twitter where I stand, that I'm like, no, we can't rely on these people. They're not going to do it. We have to make them uncomfortable. We have to literally force them to do this. Where do you stand?
It's so interesting because I had been, so even though I voted Green in 2016, even though I've always kind of been in this independent, on the edge of the inside-outside game, you could say, I was always the one who in the past, a few years ago, would have been saying, come on, you guys, like, AOC and them all must have some 3D chess, plan, and that you guys are being too harsh on her. Like, she's just doing that to get them to listen to her more. And I remember saying that and believing it really genuinely and not understanding why people like you were probably being so adamantly against it. I probably even believed some of the people who thought that you were like tearing them down because you just, you're outside. I believed some of those things, or I wasn't certain about it. I was confused about why are people being so adamantly against them. I don't understand. And then it was kind of around the time last year, the warning signs kind of showed up when AOC couldn't decide between Bernie and Elizabeth Warren. And I've had red flags about Warren since 2016. And then after the election, when, now it's time to push Biden left. Everybody voted for Biden. I didn't, but, now it's time to push him left. All the people who said, we'll push him left after the election. Then the bad faith actors comment from AOC surfaces. Then, the exceeding expectations comments. And then the whole media just running with that and portraying it as if all of the left thinks that Biden is the next FDR or something. And then, Force the Vote. And it's so ironic because Force the Vote really was the turning point for me in moving from this, believing the squad to kind of wanting to pressure them more. Because it was like, at first, I was like, I agree with Jimmy Dore, but, I kind of understand why people think he's being a little too harsh with people, like with Anna. Maybe he should have been a little nicer about it just so they'd, hear him out. But then over time, I was like, but wait. I agree with Jimmy Dore on the position that he's taking that we need to force the vote on this. The people who are criticizing him are the ones who are saying vote blue no matter who are now defending the politicians instead of pushing them left. That's when I realized, last summer we were all talking about civility politics and how that's not as important as justice, and that riots and things like that are not a reason to be against the demands of the riots. And so I kind of made that connection of, even if Jimmy Dore can be a little bit of an asshole sometimes to some people, he's right in the things that he's saying, and he's trying to push these people left. And the ones who said they were going to help us are now being loyalists for politicians.
Team sports.
And I started to realize that I was probably that person 2 or 3 years ago, and that the person I am now, people like you were in my position maybe a few years ago. And so it's almost like, wow, I finally understand why all of you were so pants on fire about this. And so now I've made the full transition of just, I don't want to defend politicians, outright in a loyalist type of way at all. I just want to kind of have the opinion on the policies and focus entirely on the policies.
Yeah. You know something too? It's what really convinced us a lot earlier. It's the shirt you were wearing, right? Because we see how the squad was when it comes to foreign policy.
Yep.
Cori Bush, she probably saw your shirt and was like, I don't want to talk to this guy because she had nothing about foreign policy on her webpage when she was running for office. Nothing. Didn't even talk about it, didn't even touch it, didn't even go near it. And yet she just stinks when it comes to foreign policy. So that gave us an indication of like, wait, at the end of the day, these people are for imperialism. They are not anti-imperialist. And they might act like they are, but they sure aren't when it comes to policy. They sure aren't when it comes to calling people out. And look at the person she replaced. That one person that she replaced, I forgot his name, but Max Blumenthal was in the halls of Congress, and he got that person to speak out about foreign policy and was going how bad it was. But then he quickly retracted to, well, I'm in charge of the budget committee. I don't even talk about this stuff. That's the person that she replaced. Somebody who started talking out against the American imperialist machine, and yet he's gone. You know what I'm saying? So that is the reason why for us that we quickly get there. If somebody's like anti-civil liberties, if they're an imperialist and they're not an anti-imperialist, but they try to act like they are, we know right away that's red flags that they're probably full of shit when it comes to Medicare for all, when it comes to protecting our civil liberties, when it comes to ending these wars. We understand that. So that's the reason why we got there quickly.
And Assange.
Yeah.
And like
and
the inability to speak to protect journalists and whistleblowers exposing Western war crimes, that's a really big red flag. And literally we have no friends in D.C. I mean, none of them are really there. There's issues with so many people, even Republicans who sometimes do it. They also play team sports. And so it's just kind of like, shit, like we need to stop relying on politicians. We really, really need more speeches from like Joy, from us, from you. We need you to call out the politicians because you're a citizen journalist. You have every right to demand more and answers from these politicians that we helped put into power. Yeah. That it's as basic and simple as that. Do not be shamed for it.
Oh, no, definitely not. You're so right about that connection of the Julian Assange case. And that was something that after the forced the vote thing really helped me kind of tie all this together. Because it was like, I see people smearing you all on the internet as if you're some like secret right-wingers or something. But then I hear you taking these like, free Julian Assange positions or these anti-imperialist positions on foreign policy that you don't see the people criticizing you take. Or, some of the people criticizing you think that the Julian Assange case is just one person. Why do you care so much? It's not that big of a deal. You know, I don't understand why this matters. And as soon as I made that connection of, wow, these people really don't understand that he revealed war crimes and that, you know, the UN is on his side, that, you know, human rights organizations around the world are on his side. Even the Chinese government, you know, said that the US is prosecuting a journalist here and attacking the free press. And it's just like, once I made that connection, I was kind of like, oh, no, I need to like really lean in and educate people on Julian Assange and anti-imperialism and connect these dots together, because, I mean, that's the loose thread of AOC doesn't say anything about Julian Assange.
Yep.
You know, doesn't say anything about Julian Assange. Not a single elected progressive says anything about Julian Assange.
Yeah.
My representative, Jamie Rashkin, Our Revolution endorsed Jamie Rashkin. I was looking him up a week or two ago because I sent him some letters about this, about Julian Assange. He's been co-sponsoring all sorts of bills about press freedom and independent journalists and, you know, things that directly relate to the case of Julian Assange. But I remember a few years ago, he was really big on the Trump-Russia story and Russia interfering in our election story. And so I almost have this inclination that Jamie Rashkin is doing all these press freedom bills so he can cover his ass on not saying anything about Julian Assange because, you know, he must have some idea in his head that Julian Assange is not really a journalist. I don't know. He's not responding to my letter. I have to call him. I have to go to his office and follow up. But the Julian Assange case really is that common thread that pulls together anti-imperialism and, you know, the fact that the Democratic Party on domestic policy isn't far enough left. It's both.
Yeah.
And I think it makes it easier to teach people through Julian Assange. But, you know, people hear the smears about him, the Trump-Russia thing in 2016, which has nothing to do with the charges or the accusations of rape in Sweden, the charges that got dropped that, again, are not relevant to this case anymore. You know, but people don't like him personally for some reason, and that allows them to support him being persecuted in a way that sets a, you know, precedent that dangers the international free press. I think people are really short-sighted on that issue.
Well, a lot of people feel that he put Donald Trump in office because he told the truth. But if the truth blows it up, then the truth blows it up. Johnny.
Kobe, brother, I just got to say, you know, I woke up today and I was just so happy because, like, I'm like, you see somebody who watches the Convo Couch has the balls to go and ask Cori Bush this. You know what I'm saying? This is what I'm fucking talking about. Fucking someone who's an anti-imperialist and is willing to walk the walk. This is what I'm talking about. This is why I do what I do. You know what I'm saying? So we can build a coalition of people like this.
Yeah.
And people have the courage to fucking ask these politicians questions because they're not above us. They serve us. You know? They're supposed to serve us. So you asking that question, brother, I just give you all the props and
thank you so much.
And
it was like I said, it was so spontaneous. I felt so uncomfortable doing it. Like, I knew that if I said something, everybody there was going to look at me. And now that post has like 100,000, you know, impressions. And I'm just like, holy crap. I have people today you know, smearing me as a racist because,
of
you know,
course.
Cori Bush is a black woman
get that
and
all
I'm
the
a
time.
white man.
Yeah.
And it's just like, and then I look at who it is and I click on their profile. Oh, it's a Chantel Brown supporter, you know, a neoliberal in Ohio who's smearing me in this way just because, you know, identity politics, you know, without any substance behind it. But it's just like, oh, it's so crazy because I just did what I thought we're supposed to do. You know, we're supposed to bird dog politicians. We're supposed to, you know, if they gaslight you and don't take a position on something that people are curious about, you kind of create a situation. You know, you create like you antagonize to get a response. The same reason why you would do a civil disobedience or any other issue, you know, is just to get eyeballs on the issue because she clearly dodged the question. She clearly doesn't want to answer the question for some reason. So now we have to make the question get answered.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I just gotta say, you know, that uncomfortableness you felt, that's you leaving the comfort zone, brother. That's so fucking important that everybody needs to do. I want the audience to know when you feel that, you got to take that extra step and push yourself to get through it because you can do it, and we all can do it. Is what I'm saying. So I just wanted to talk about that. I just want to mention that.
Yeah.
Once you do it once, it gets easier. Once you step out of your comfort zone one or two times, like I didn't even really post on Twitter that much. Like I've always been kind of, you know, 1 foot in, 1 foot out of the online community since 2016. But like, it wasn't until like in the last year or so that I really started posting more. And then it was like people were like misunderstanding me, or people who I knew I agreed with for some reason don't think we're on the same team or something. So then I was like, oh crap, I need to like heavily lean into saying all of my opinions on the internet now, so at least everybody knows where I am.
Yeah.
And then, you know, that leads to me going to the Julian Assange protest in DC in April. And then that leads to me, starting to post videos on Twitter about Julian Assange, which leads to me speaking at the event in front of the Department of Justice, which leads to me possibly starting a podcast, and now here and Bird Dog and Quarterback. Like once you get a little courage, it kind of makes it easier to do it again in the future.
Yep.
Thank you for your courage, and thank you for doing this. Do not let these people shame you. You did a wonderful job. We need more of you out there doing the same exact thing. When we, all of us can't be at every place at once, and we need journalists asking bold questions, asking questions that make politicians uncomfortable. So thank you for doing that. We appreciate you. Thank you so much for wearing the shirt. Yeah. Thank you for your courage.
Brother, send me a picture of you in that shirt.
Yeah, we want a picture in the shirt.
I need a picture.
You want the picture of me in the shirt?
You look good in that shirt, brother.
Yeah. And Kobe,
what?
One of the methods I like to use now and stuff, I'm getting really better at this, is the first question you ask is the setup question. You make them feel comfortable, like you're there. Hey, Corey, thank you for coming here today. Why'd you come? So now she starts answering the questions, whatever. You don't ask her. And then you come in with the sneaky, bada. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
why are you getting forced to vote and stuff?
If I had been recording, I would have been able to do that. That's why I told her 2 questions, and the first question was, why are you here today?
Yeah.
And then the second question was the one that I really wanted to ask, which
exactly.
was about the leveraging as a block. But my mistake was I shouldn't have asked for permission to film her. She's in a public space. I should have just been filming as soon as I walked up to her. Never making that mistake.
You're doing awesome. And don't get too good, because Fiorella's gonna throw me off the couch and you're gonna replace me. So take it easy on me, pal.
Someday.
And thanks again, brother, for all you did today. That was some great shit, brother.
Thank you so much for your support. Solidarity, guys.
Go follow his Twitter. Solidarity, buddy.
Pro Peace 97.
We already have it up, brother. And that's Kobe. Man, what great work.
Yeah.
Citizen journalism at its best.
Yeah.
Citizen journalism at its best. We are all journalists.
And I know he's getting a lot of clapback and hate from all these,
I got
squad
that.
sycophants. But guess what, guys? That means you're doing something. Right. Because if you're going to start siding with politicians over the people who are obviously dying and concerned, we're in a shitty economy right now. We haven't even experienced the housing crisis yet. Just wait. It's going to get worse. And the fact that he's asking the right questions. And I love seeing the progression of attending a Julian Assange event and then another event. And then just, this is what we want. This is why we do what we do. Johnny's absolutely right. We want to radicalize people into action. This is why a lot of our friends who are in this do what they do.
Yeah.
I love it, fam.
Carrie Mark says her activism comes with a price.
Yeah.
Talking about
Corey Bush.
And thank you for the Super 8 contribution, Carrie Mark. Marlene Smith. We have 112 people watching on Rokfin consistently. This is awesome. Close to 400 on YouTube. Get on to Rokfin, Rokfin. You don't even have to sign up for free, but if you do sign up, make sure you follow us. We're close to 22,000 followers, and we couldn't have done this without you. Marlene Smith says thank you. Thank you for the Super 8 contribution. Marlene Smith says thank you, Fee, Pasta, and Johnny, for all that you do, fam. Keep doing what you're doing and keep bringing the heat. Keep reminding people that choice equals freedom. Pro-choice does not equal anti-vax. Just like pro-choice does not equal pro-abortion. Pro-choice is exactly that. Respecting people's freedom of choice all around the damn board. And keep calling out everyone that's not doing what the fuck they were elected to do. Pressure on. Marlene Smith. Thank you so much. That was fire. And Anthony Scannell, Paisan, thank you so much. That's the point of Force to Vote. They're over here. They're over there. Do they co-sponsor? Do they support demonstrations? No yardstick to measure their support against. And that's why we do it. We put them on the record. That was what the whole thing, which was just crazy what AOC said when she tried to impeach Trump on his way out. We got to put people on the record. But on Force to Vote, it doesn't work.
Yep.
Are you kidding me? And James Evans says, yep.
Well, they're trying to paint it now like pie in the sky. Oh, it's just whatever. It's just whatever. Like Medicare
Nina called it a project.
Yeah, it's a project. Like what? What are you talking about, dude? Ugh.
A project. Oh, Johnny, anything else?
No, that was fucking amazing. I woke up this morning. I was so happy when I saw this. So.
All right. Me too. And we'll give you the links, guys, where you can order one of those shirts that Kobe confronted Corey Bush on. And Fam talked about this too when she was running. There was nothing about foreign policy on her website.
Nothing.
You're running for Congress, and you are going to make you will have a big vote on foreign policy decisions. You got nothing to say.
And then she's the one that introduced the what was it?
Well, if you protest against
like the first legislation
and stuff, yeah. It was one of the first whatnot and stuff. Like she was really trying to suppress people talking about elections. And when I went after her, the same thing. You know what I'm saying? Oh, you white privileged person and stuff like that. How are you doing it? You're being racist over here, attacking a woman of color. It's like, oh my God. No, I'm attacking the subject. We should always be able to talk about elections. And we should always be able to talk about foreign policy. That's why when when Cori Bush saw Kobe wearing that shirt, she said, "Oh shit, he might ask me foreign policy questions here, and I'm going to be stuck like Chuck." Speaking of, fam, Afghanistan, are we actually withdrawing? Yes or no?
I don't think so. I mean, I think it's very clear we're not, but it hasn't been officially, declared.
No, they kind of moved the date up, but this is what they're doing. Now, we said this back in the days when we had our show and we talked about this. We said, look, they're extending this date. It was supposed to be like March 1st or something when the withdrawal was supposed to be out. They're going to extend it because they're going to manufacture consent to stay there, to keep troops there, to keep the CIA there, to make sure that certain things could happen in which they can change the narrative. Well, here it is. The CIA chief says Taliban is in the strongest military position since 2001. Since 2001. 20 fucking years ago, we've been wasting time, money, lives, the whole 9 yards, and we've gotten nothing. We're moving backwards, supposedly against our goal, which we should have just pulled out a long time ago. If we'd never been in there, what would have happened? And not to mention, the Taliban is a division of the Mujahideen, which we supported in the 1980s, which were the most lethal, craziest jihadists out there, and we supported them. What's that? What operation was it? Mongoose. Operation Mongoose. Look it up, Carter. Since the U.S. began pulling troops out of Afghanistan at the beginning of May, the Taliban has been making sufficient gains against the U.S.-backed government. In an interview that was aired Friday night with the director William Burns, said that he believes the Taliban is in the best military position they've been in since the war started in 2001. And here's the key. The Taliban is making significant military advances. They're probably the strongest military position they've been in since 2001. And that's what they're going to do. They're going to manufacture consent. They're going to give you numbers. They're going to give you fucking talks. They're going to use certain framing of the words just to get you convinced that we need to stay there for the women of Afghanistan, for the children of Afghanistan, for the people. We can't just cut and run.
For the people, we should get the hell out and not involve ourselves. But of course, this is what, and they use the pathos, again, the emotions, to get the liberals on their side. And then, of course, for the neocons and for a lot of the right, they're like, well, we got to stop terrorists and blah, blah, blah. So either way, it works for them. This is why we have a two-party illusion. It's one oligarchy, because when it comes to war and Wall Street, like Misty said, they're one party.
And this is what Mark Milley said, demonstrating the Taliban success on the battlefield. The Joint Chief of Staff, General Mark Milley, said on Wednesday that the group is currently controlling 200 of the 419 district centers in Afghanistan. Last month, he said the Taliban only controlled 81 district centers. So you can see the language. They're starting to do, look at the numbers. Well, we got to get out of here. But what do? We can't cut and run. We can't leave these people. Here comes the Taliban. They hang people for their religious beliefs. They are terrible and brutal to women. We can't leave. We got to keep some forces behind. And then when something happens, when they kill American forces, they'll make excuses to bring in more forces. We're never going to leave. We never intended on leaving. We don't want to leave. The American empire wants Afghanistan. There are too many natural resources there in the mountains, in the mines, in the poppy fields. We have the opioids there. We don't want to leave. We're never going to leave. And Donald Trump, for all the people who said he wanted to leave, bullshit. His last month in office, he starts to pull out the troops. Bullshit. You could have pulled people out a long time ago. And who's the one goddamn senator on the floor? Rand Paul. We gotta depend on Rand friggin' Paul to try to get us out of Afghanistan. Awful. Shame on you, progressives. Where the hell have you out? Now, fam, this is the word they're going to use. And now, this is what they do. Okay, so that's, you know what I'm saying? Let's bring in General Petraeus. He's Obama's general. He was a breath of fresh air. And this is the framing they're going to use. Listen to this word. General David Petraeus says the Taliban has the momentum in Afghanistan. Momentum. Ladies and gentlemen, we got to stop it. We can't let them have the momentum. And if you want to play the video so you can hear about the strategic momentum,
I love how you say momentum.
Do it. Because it's the bullshit fucking word they're using to goad us into the fact that they're going to keep the CIA there, they're going to keep mercenaries there, they're going to keep 600 troops, they say, which they'll double and triple that as they get killed because of the momentum. Does it play? We don't have to play. That's it. But, you just have Petraeus, that cuck. He comes on, and that's what you say. Oh, this is Obama's guy. You know what I'm saying? This is Obama's guy.
There it is.
Here.
On this, he led our mission in Afghanistan for a while, and he, of course, was CIA director. General, are you worried that the Taliban will be in control soon?
I don't know about soon, Brian, but I'm very worried about the trends right now, the trajectory that this is all heading. The Taliban has the momentum. In fact, our chairman of the Joint forthrightly noted that the other day, that they have the strategic momentum. And it was heartening, I must say, to see that we did use some air power outside of Kandahar, the second largest city and second most important city in Afghanistan to Kabul. But I think that we need to work with the Afghan government to develop a plan to help them stabilize the security situation, which has indeed deteriorated very significantly since the announcement of the intent to withdraw.
And you know, that Fox announcer, by the way, strategic momentum, fam, he even says, oh, I'm worried about the momentum they're building, whatnot. We have to go in there and stop them. That cuck who was interviewing him on Fox News is the same jerk-off that got off and walked off the stage, this pro-war freaking neocon asshole that walked off the stage when Jesse Ventura questioned the fact that we should be looking in deep into what's going on in 9/11. He was so offended that, oh, how can you say what we're doing is wrong, and I'm out of here. You're siding with the terrorist. He got up and he walked off the stage.
He gets paid for that.
Because Fox is controlled opposition too, ladies and gentlemen. You on the right out there that still watch this stupid-ass channel, aside from Tucker, who does have some good points, which I'm not going to agree with everything, and he'll probably be thrown off that network soon because he's saying too much. This is fucking controlled opposition, right? We were talking about earlier the way they called Arizona so quickly, me and Dave today when I was on the show today and stuff like that. They're part of it. They're part of the theater that you're looking at. So now what are they going to do? They're going to help them manufacture consent. Let's bring in Obama's general to say, look at the strategic momentum that's going on, fam.
Well, they have to help them. You can't just leave them alone. They need help, you know? Like, they don't know what to do without us. That's that whole, like, Monroe Doctrine type of bullshit. Like, oh, like, it is our duty and manifest destiny to, like, go and invade countries and help them be democracies because without us, they'll just freaking sink. Yeah. And that's that whole imperialist mentality, and I'm not surprised at all that that's happening.
Well, I mean, so they're going to continue to manufacture consent, right? And we should listen to what Mike Gravel just said. Just plain get out. That's what we need to do. Just plain get the fuck out.
R.I.P.
What are they going to do? They're going to manufacture consent. They're going to continue to demonize and make the Taliban look like the monsters that they are, even though we're the ones who supported them and helped. We actually created them. Following Biden's announcement of Afghanistan troop withdrawal, interpreter is beheaded as the Taliban retake the region. So now we're looking at these savages. They're awful. They're going to kill these women. And don't get me wrong, I'm not a fan of the Taliban. I don't have a Go Taliban t-shirt, right? I'm not, you know what I'm saying? But we cannot go across the globe trying to figure out other people's problems. And at the end of the day, we created the Taliban. We created the Mujahideen. We are responsible for it. I'm not going to let you present the solutions of imperialists that created the fucking problem. Because what do we do the next day? Right? We go and we keep bombing. That's what we do. So now we manufacture consent. U.S. airstrikes hits Taliban in Afghanistan. We killed 26 terrorists. Probably killed some babies. Probably killed something. We don't even get to end that. But that's what we do. Look what they're doing. They're evil. We got to airstrike them.
Yep.
So now people say we should airstrike them. They just beheaded an interpreter of theirs. They're animals. We got to kill them.
Meanwhile, Daniel Hale is in jail awaiting trial for exposing the drone program. I mean, this is a joke right now. We live in an upside down world where we have people that are trying to say, hey, stop bombing people, stop droning people in jail, while we have warmongers and people like Petraeus, CIA cucks coming out and like demanding more and more of this. And it's never ending because we are an empire. And when you live in an empire, it's not about you or me. It's about a very few of the predator class getting their resources and everything else. And we're just whatever to them. We don't matter. And that's why it's when you talk to me about, oh my God, he was so mean to Cori Bush. How dare he say that? Oh, let me just have my Jane Austen moment where I'm like, like, I can't believe you said that. No, fuck you. Like, why are you clutching your pearls about a citizen asking a public servant a question when we're over here bombing people, and every day our ally Israel is continuing to bomb Syrians and Palestinians alike, and we have blood on our hands. This is why I don't give a crap if I insult a politician, if I'm mean to them, if I yell at them, if I say the word Julian Assange, because look what your country is doing at your behest. And look at how many people don't give a shit because they're too busy trying to survive. And that's why everything's fucking connected. And you can't tell me that I'm not allowed to talk about Julian Assange, that I'm not allowed to mention anything because it's all fucking connected. And you're a fucking moron if you don't see the connections now. I'm just so done with people's bullshit of like trying to frame this as like, oh, this is my issue and this is this issue. No, these are all our issues because they're all so interconnected.
Yeah. And what did we say on the show, Johnny? What did we say? We said they're expanding this date so they can manufacture more consent. Look out for situations or disasters or something to happen that's going to manufacture consent for us to stay there. Okay, we're never fucking leaving. We're not leaving. CIA will be there. Mercenaries will be there. Army will be there. They'll put more troops in if they have to. Here's this cuck, Mark Milley, who a lot of people said, oh, Mark Milley's this and that. No, Mark Milley is a cuck. Here's him manufacturing consent for us to stay in Afghanistan, and you best believe we will.
I would tell you that as of today, more or less, I guess it's about 212, 213, it's in that range, 200s. The district centers are in Taliban control. It's about half of the 419 that are out there. You've got 34 provincial capitals in Afghanistan. None of them have been seized as of today. By the Taliban, although the Taliban is putting pressure on the outskirts of probably about half of them, 17 of them, in fact. And what they're trying to do is isolate the major population centers. They're trying to do the same thing to Kabul. And roughly speaking, order of magnitude, a significant amount of territory has been seized over the course of 6, 8, 10 months sort of thing by the Taliban. So momentum appears to be, strategic momentum appears to be sort of with the Taliban. The Afghan security forces, though, are consolidating their forces. So part of this is they're giving up district centers in order to consolidate their forces because they're taking an approach to protect the population. And most of the population lives in the provincial capitals and the capital city of Kabul. So they are right now, as we speak, adjusting forces to consolidate into the provincial capitals in Kabul. And that's why I say it remains to be seen over the rest of the summer. Right now, violence is relatively low because of Eid. But after Eid, we're going to find out. We're going to find out the levels of violence, whether it's going to go up, stay the same. There's a possibility of a negotiated outcome that's still out there. There's a possibility of a complete Taliban takeover or a possibility of any number of other scenarios, breakdowns, warlordism, all kinds of other scenarios that are out there. We're monitoring very closely. I don't think the end game is yet written.
Oh, the end game has not been yet because you know why, fam? They got momentum. We've got to stop the momentum.
Fam. Jesus Christ.
How we got to be right about this shit? Why couldn't we be wrong?
I wish we were wrong.
And seeing some of the independent media people just fucking praising Joe Biden. If he does this, he does this, forget about it. Go and get your fucking head on straight. Get your shit together. This was, extending this date was all about manufacturing fucking consent because they're not leaving. We are not leaving. 9/11, get your ass to fucking D.C. Get part of the march.
And I really like this guy's comment under your post, but I thought this is the woke general who accepted critical race theory. I guess the critical thought doesn't extend beyond the empire's borders to encompass other marginalized people.
Ooh. Boom! Zapfod B.
Good shit.
Good
shit.
Johnny, you want to show people where they can get that anti-imperialist shirt like Kobe? Yeah.
If you don't know, the Convo Couch has a store.
Fam, defund the Pentagon.
Welcome to the clothing revolution, fams. So the whole reason I made these shirts is because you're not seeing shirts like this out on the streets, except for me. When I go to the gym, I'm wearing my defund the Pentagon shirt, and I got fucking Lockheed Martin employees looking at me weird. And fucking vegan but will eat the rich. These messages need to be spread. And anti-imperialist is the one that I designed here. You got men's and then females here, and then you got a little doggy with fists. And then if you have a little baby, you know, get your little rebel bib right there. But you know, it all supports us keeping going. You know, we're trying to get more funds so we can own the means of production of our own material.
Now don't get commie on us.
But also, you know, this is something that so I was so happy because it was like, of course, one of the few people who bought this shirt, of course, is going to have the balls to go and ask Cori Bush a question like that. Right. So I was just like really happy about that. And
so was I.
It's like it means something, man.
It means that we're doing this for the right reasons, and other people are listening, and in some way or another, you know, it's expanding. The work collectively we're all doing is expanding. Yeah. There you go. Fuck Biden. Fuck Trump.
Get that 15% off.
And that's how we feel.
Off. Johnny, anything else?
That is all.
We've had a long show. Any other super rays before we...
Oh, let me see if there is any super rays in the house. By the way, what a great crowd today on Rokfin. 106 people. We had more than that. Emma Beveridge. What a great name. Emma Beveridge. I listed some videos on YouTube that has some great research for you, including one that is half in German. You know what you got to do too, Emma? Send it to the Convo Couch at gmail.com. That always helps too as well. They are ready for the Nuremberg trials. I came over here to give you guys a tip and tell you to watch the videos I listed on YouTube. Keep up the great work. Emma Beveridge, we can send it over to, we'll take a look.
The Convo Couch at gmail.com.
The Convo Couch at gmail.com. That's where you can find us, support us, help us out. All this information's there. And Carrie Mark says, #false flags.
Yes, Carrie Mark.
All right, guys.
We love you. Thank
Great
you so
show.
much.
We'll see you Wednesday. Wednesday, we are supposed to be going to City Hall. They are actually trying to push an ordinance in L.A. to make people take down their tents and whatnot as the homeless population has been growing out of control. But you know what, fam? We got the Olympics coming, and we have the Super Bowl.
And we can't make it look ugly.
Yes.
So we got to clean it
So
up.
we got to take poor people and even fucking abuse them more. Not take any responsibility. What about all these fucking empty... old malls that are open that they can build shelters over there and
empty
stuff like that.
luxury
Everything.
apartments that sit empty because rich people buy them from overseas and nobody lives there. Seize the means of production, guys. We'll be there.
We will. Guys, thank you so much for Pasta Jardula.
Fiorella.
Jonny Sue on those 1s and 2s.
Convo out. Fuck censorship.
Long show.
Fuck censorship.
Fuck censorship.
Peace.